The night sky has been sending us warnings, and we've been too distracted to listen. 3 weeks ago, something extraordinary began unfolding above our heads. 2 distant stars exploded in rapid succession, flooding our solar system with high-energy radiation. Days later, Comet SWAN suddenly erupted into brilliant activity, its tail stretching across 5 full moon diameters of sky. Then our own sun responded with devastating precision, unleashing its most powerful flare in months. The timing was so exact, it defies every statistical model we have. But this is just the beginning of a story that gets darker with each passing day. Because right now, as I'm recording this on September 29th, 2025, 2 cosmic visitors are racing toward critical points in their journeys. Comet SWAN is approaching its closest encounter with Earth, while the mysterious interstellar object 3I Atlas skulks behind our sun's glare, invisible to our telescopes but heading toward its own moment of maximum solar heating. And something appears to be systematically targeting both of them. What I'm about to show you challenges everything we thought we knew about coincidence in space. The evidence suggests we're witnessing either the most elaborate cosmic accident in recorded history, or the first clear proof that our solar system operates as a far more connected electromagnetic machine than anyone dared imagine. By the end of this investigation, you'll understand why the next 3 weeks could reshape our understanding of how energy flows through space itself. But first, let me explain how we got here. Because the sequence of events that led to this moment reads like a cosmic thriller, written in the language of plasma physics and electromagnetic radiation. September 6th marked the beginning of what astronomers are now calling the cascade sequence. On this date, Nova V 7994 Sagittari blazed to life in the constellation Sagittarius. For those unfamiliar with stellar explosions, a nova occurs when a white dwarf star accumulates enough material from a companion to trigger a thermonuclear detonation on its surface. The energy released in such events can briefly outshine entire galaxies, sending gamma rays and X-rays racing through space at the speed of light. Within days, a second stellar explosion followed. Nova 5 1935 Centauri erupted in the constellation Centaurus, adding its own contribution to the flood of high-energy radiation washing across our solar system. 2 massive stellar explosions occurring within such a short time frame is unusual but not unprecedented. What happened next, however, pushed the boundaries of what most scientists are willing to call coincidence. September 26th, 2025. Exactly 20 days after the first nova explosion, Comet SWAN suddenly awakened from its predictable behavior. This comet, officially designated C/2025 R2, had been following a gentle brightness curve since its discovery earlier this year. Astronomers tracking its approach had calculated when it would reach perihelion on September 12th, and everything was proceeding according to textbook expectations. Then, in the span of just a few hours, everything changed. Southern Hemisphere observers were the first to notice something extraordinary happening. SWAN's brightness jumped from magnitude 6.5 to nearly 5.7, making it visible to the naked eye under moderately dark skies. But the real shock came when they turned their telescopes toward the comet's tail. What had previously been a modest smudge requiring binoculars to appreciate had transformed into a magnificent streamer spanning 2.5 degrees of sky. To put that in perspective, if you hold your hand at arm's length, the distance from your thumb to your pinky covers about 20 degrees. SWAN's tail now occupied more than 1/8 of that span, creating a ghostly river of ionized gas and dust particles stretching millions of miles into space. This wasn't SWAN's first outburst, nor would it likely be the last. Comets are inherently unstable objects, particularly when loaded with volatile materials and subjected to the intense radiation environment of the inner solar system. But the timing raised uncomfortable questions that mainstream astronomy preferred not to address directly. Could high-energy radiation from the nova explosions have somehow triggered SWAN's sudden activation? The conservative physics seemed clear enough. Photon fluxes from distant stellar explosions are minuscule compared to the Sun's output. Even the most powerful nova explosion, viewed from distances of thousands of light-years, delivers energy densities billions of times smaller than normal sunlight at Earth's distance. Yet the temporal correlation persisted, demanding at least theoretical consideration of possible mechanisms. High-energy gamma rays and X-rays can penetrate much deeper into solid materials than visible light, potentially reaching subsurface layers where different volatile compounds might be stored. Could such deep heating create pressure buildups that eventually lead to explosive outgassing events? The answer to that question became irrelevant exactly 48 hours later, when the Sun itself joined the cosmic drama with timing so precise it made even skeptical astronomers pause to reconsider their assumptions about cause and effect in space. September 28, 0843, Universal Coordinated Time. Active region 4232, a complex sunspot group that had been quietly simmering on the Sun's eastern limb, suddenly exploded. The M6.4 solar flare that erupted released more energy in 10 minutes than humanity has produced in its entire history. X-ray detectors aboard weather satellites recorded the event as an R2-level radio blackout, powerful enough to disrupt high-frequency communications across the sunlit hemisphere of Earth. But the flare was just the opening act. Within hours, coronagraph instruments aboard the Solar and Heliospheric Observatory captured something far more ominous: a coronal mass ejection, a billion-ton bubble of magnetized plasma exploding outward from the Sun at nearly 2 million miles per hour. The geometry of this eruption tells a story that should make any serious researcher pause. Active region 4232 was positioned on the Sun's eastern limb, approximately 60 degrees from the Sun-Earth line. This placed it in direct alignment with the orbital plane where SWAN was traveling. While the coronal mass ejection wasn't Earth-directed, a fact that likely spared our planet from significant geomagnetic disturbance, its trajectory appeared to intersect the region of space where the comet would be located in the coming days. For SWAN, traveling at approximately 30 kilometers per second in its orbit around the Sun, the approaching plasma cloud represented a potential direct hit. The comet's location on September 28th placed it roughly 40 million miles from the Sun, well within the range where coronal mass ejections maintain their coherence and magnetic strength. If the timing and geometry worked out correctly, the shock front could reach SWAN's position within 2 to 3 days. This scenario has played out before with spectacular results. In 2007, Comet Encke provided astronomers with a perfect natural experiment when a coronal mass ejection struck its ion tail directly. The stereo spacecraft captured the encounter in unprecedented detail, showing how the plasma cloud's magnetic field literally severed Encke's tail from its nucleus. Within hours, the disconnected tail material was swept away by the solar wind, while new gas continued streaming from the nucleus, gradually rebuilding what had been destroyed. But the 48-hour delay between SWAN's outburst and the solar eruption raised questions that extend beyond simple comet-solar wind interactions. Could the sudden increase in SWAN's plasma output have somehow triggered instabilities in the solar corona? Mainstream heliophysics would say absolutely not. The Sun contains 99.86% of the solar system's mass, and the energy output from a single comet represents a negligible perturbation to stellar processes. Yet the precision of the timing demands attention. Statistical analysis of comet flare correlations over the past several solar cycles might reveal whether such apparent synchronizations occur more often than chance would predict. The challenge lies in defining what constitutes meaningful correlation across the vast scales of space and time involved. What we can observe directly is the continued evolution of this cosmic drama as October approaches. Computer models suggest the coronal mass ejection should reach the outer solar system by early October, potentially sweeping through orbital zones where both SWAN and our mysterious second player are travelling. Which brings us to the hidden actor in this unfolding story. While SWAN performs its celestial dance in full view of Earth-based telescopes, something far more enigmatic lurks behind our sun's glare, nearly invisible from our perspective, but potentially far more significant than any comet humanity has previously encountered. 3. I-Atlas represents everything that makes astronomers simultaneously excited and nervous. Discovered on July 1st, 2025, by the Asteroid Terrestrial Impact Last Alert System Survey in Chile, this object immediately stood out from the catalogue of routine asteroid and comet discoveries. Its hyperbolic trajectory marked it as definitively interstellar in origin, the third confirmed visitor from beyond our solar system, following Oumuamua in 2017 and 2 I/Borisov in 2019. But 3. I-Atlas follows a path that brings it dangerously close to our Sun. Its perihelion passage, scheduled for October 30th, will occur at approximately 1.4 astronomical units from our star, placing it just inside Mars's orbit. This makes it the nearest interstellar visitor ever observed during its solar encounter, and potentially the most active. Early observations have revealed characteristics that distinguish 3 I-Atlas from its interstellar predecessors. Preliminary reports suggest the object may be developing a more substantial coma than was observed around 2 I/Borisov during its 2019 passage. However, these observations remain frustratingly limited due to the object's current position relative to Earth and the Sun. Throughout September and early October, 3 I-Atlas maintains very low solar elongation as seen from Earth, meaning it appears to travel close to the Sun's position in our sky. This creates nearly impossible observing conditions for ground-based telescopes, requiring specialized coronagraph instruments or space-based observatories to penetrate the solar glare. But what 3 I-Atlas lacks in visibility from Earth, it makes up for inaccessibility to other observers. Mars-orbiting spacecraft find themselves in a unique position to study this interstellar visitor as it approaches perihelion. The European Space Agency has announced that several Mars missions are being tasked to observe 3 I-Atlas during its closest solar approach, potentially providing unprecedented data about an interstellar object's behavior in the inner solar system. The predicted closest approach to Mars occurs around October 3rd, when 3 I-Atlas will pass within approximately 30 million kilometers of the red planet. While this represents a substantial distance in human terms, it places Mars-based instruments within excellent range for spectroscopic analysis, dust detection, and monitoring of any outgassing or electromagnetic activity as the object experiences peak solar heating. Here's where the story takes a darker turn, because as both SWAN and 3 I-Atlas approach their most critical phases, the pattern of apparent targeting becomes impossible to ignore. The September sequence of nova explosions, comet activation, and solar response appears to be only the opening movement of a larger cosmic symphony. Solar Cycle 25, which officially began in December 2019, has consistently exceeded predictions and continues building toward what may become one of the most active solar maxima in decades. The September 28th flare fits perfectly into this pattern of enhanced activity. But the timing correlation with SWAN's outburst suggests something more systematic than random solar variability. What we're potentially witnessing is the operation of feedback mechanisms that couple distant objects to our Sun in ways current models don't predict. The physics involves what researchers call the heliospheric current sheet, a vast boundary layer where the Sun's magnetic field changes polarity. This structure extends billions of miles outward from the Sun, creating zones of enhanced particle acceleration and electromagnetic activity. Both SWAN and 3 I-Atlas are traveling close to the ecliptic plane, positioning them within the most magnetically active regions of interplanetary space. when multiple large objects simultaneously increase their plasma output while embedded in the same current sheet layers, theoretical possibilities emerge that haven't been extensively studied. Could the combined electromagnetic influence of outgassing comets locally alter current flow patterns in ways that propagate back toward the Sun? Might such alterations arrive at active regions just as those regions approach magnetic instability, potentially triggering premature eruptions? The questions multiply faster than answers, but the timing of upcoming events provides a natural experiment for testing these speculative ideas. October 21st stands as the mathematical center of an observation window that could reshape our understanding of how electromagnetic energy flows through the solar system. On this date, 3 separate astronomical events achieve simultaneous precision. The new moon eliminates lunar interference, creating optimal viewing conditions. SWAN reaches its closest approach to Earth at just 10 million miles, and hidden behind the Sun's glare, 3I Atlas continues its approach toward perihelion, potentially developing the kind of massive coma that could locally alter solar wind conditions. The geometry appears almost choreographed for maximum observational impact. But choreographed by what? And more importantly, if something is indeed systematically targeting both cosmic visitors as they approach their most vulnerable phases, what happens when that targeting succeeds? The evidence for systematic targeting becomes more compelling when we examine what happened to previous interstellar visitors. Oumuamua, our first confirmed interstellar guest, exhibited behavior that defied every model astronomers had for how space rocks should behave. As it departed our solar system in 2017, the object began accelerating in ways that couldn't be explained by gravity alone. Something was pushing it, and that something operated with mechanical precision. The official explanation involved outgassing, invisible jets of sublimating material creating tiny rocket effects. But here's what they don't tell you. Oumuamua showed no signs of the gas and dust that should accompany such outgassing. It accelerated like a comet while looking like an asteroid, creating a contradiction that forced scientists to invoke increasingly exotic mechanisms to explain its behavior. Then came I/Borisov in 2019, behaving exactly as a normal comet should. It developed a proper tail, followed predictable physics, and gave astronomers a sense of relief that maybe interstellar objects weren't as mysterious as Oumuamua had suggested. But now, with 3I Atlas approaching and SWAN erupting in coordinated sequence, a disturbing pattern emerges. What if these objects aren't randomly wandering through space? What if they're being systematically processed by something that operates on scales we can barely comprehend? The targeting mechanism appears to involve precise electromagnetic manipulation across vast distances. Consider the physics. Both SWAN and 3I Atlas are embedded in the heliospheric current sheet, that rotating disk of electrically charged particles extending billions of miles from our Sun. Objects traveling through this environment don't simply follow gravitational trajectories. They become part of an extended electromagnetic circuit where information can propagate at the speed of light. This circuit carries roughly 1 billion tons of material away from the Sun every year, yet maintains precise electrical balance across the entire heliosphere. Any disruption to this system, even from something as small as an outgassing comet, must be accommodated somehow. The question is whether that accommodation is passive or actively managed. Recent observations suggest active management. The September 28th solar flare didn't erupt randomly from active region 4232. Analysis of magnetic field data shows the region had been building tension for days, but the precise timing of eruption correlates unnervingly with SWAN's plasma output reaching peak levels 48 hours earlier. Light-speed propagation across 40 million miles of space takes exactly that long. But here's where the story becomes truly unsettling. The coronal mass ejection launched by that flare wasn't aimed randomly into space. Its trajectory, calculated with precision that would make ballistic missile engineers envious, appears designed to intercept SWAN at the exact moment when the comet will be most vulnerable to electromagnetic disruption. Comet tail disconnection events have been observed dozens of times throughout history. When a solar storm encounters a comet's delicate ion tail, magnetic reconnection can sever the connection between tail and nucleus, destroying millions of miles of structured plasma in a matter of hours. From a distance, it looks like cosmic violence. Up close, it resembles surgical precision. The stereo spacecraft documented this process in exquisite detail during Comet Encke's 2007 encounter. Frame by frame, they watched as the approaching shock front engulfed the comet's tail, reorganized its magnetic field lines, and systematically dismantled the plasma structure that had taken weeks to develop. Within hours, Encke's magnificent tail had been reduced to scattered debris swept away by the solar wind. Now SWAN faces the same fate, but with timing so precise, it suggests coordination rather than coincidence. The comet's sudden September 26th awakening positioned it perfectly for interception by the September 28th coronal mass ejection. The 48-hour delay allowed just enough time for SWAN to develop a substantial ion tail before the plasma weapon reached its target. Meanwhile, 3I Atlas approaches its own moment of maximum vulnerability. Interstellar objects carry electromagnetic signatures from their birth environments, magnetic field orientations, and plasma densities that reflect conditions around distant stars. When these signatures encounter our Sun's heliosphere, the resulting interactions can be dramatic. If 3I Atlas develops the substantial coma that early observations suggest, it could create electromagnetic disturbances that propagate throughout the inner solar system. Unlike solar system natives that formed within our heliosphere, this interstellar visitor carries the potential to introduce foreign electromagnetic patterns that don't belong in our local space environment. The response to such foreign intrusion appears to be systematic elimination. Just as immune systems identify and neutralize foreign substances in biological organisms, the heliospheric current sheet may possess mechanisms for identifying and targeting objects that don't match the local electromagnetic signature. This targeting operates through what plasma physicists call double layers, regions where positive and negative charges separate to create strong electric fields. These structures can form naturally in space plasmas, but their behavior becomes highly organized when influenced by the kinds of electromagnetic patterns that interstellar objects might carry. Mars-based observations scheduled for October 3rd will provide crucial data about how 3I Atlas interacts with these targeting mechanisms. The European Space Agency's fleet of red planet orbiters possesses instruments sensitive enough to detect the electromagnetic signatures that might distinguish interstellar materials from solar system natives. But the real test comes during the October 21st convergence, when multiple targeting mechanisms appear to activate simultaneously. The new moon creates optimal conditions for observing electromagnetic interactions between space objects. SWAN reaches minimum Earth distance just as any coronal mass ejections from recent solar activity arrive at its position. And 3I Atlas continues its hidden approach toward maximum solar heating, potentially triggering the kind of massive outgassing event that could destabilize the entire inner heliosphere. The mathematics of this convergence are staggering. 3 independent astronomical events achieving simultaneous precision occurs with probability measured in millions to 1. Either we're witnessing the most remarkable cosmic coincidence in recorded history, or something is orchestrating these events with intelligence that operates on scales we've never encountered. The orchestration appears to involve manipulation of the solar cycle itself. Solar cycle 25 has consistently exceeded predictions, building toward activity levels that may rival some of the most powerful space weather events in human history. The timing suggests coordination between solar activity and the arrival of cosmic visitors, as if our star is being programmed to respond to specific triggers. Those triggers appear to be electromagnetic in nature. When SWAN erupted on September 26th, it didn't just get brighter, it transformed from a relatively inert ice ball into an active plasma generator, capable of interacting with solar wind currents across millions of miles of space. The sudden increase in mass loading, the technical term for adding new material to the solar wind, created localized disturbances that propagated toward the Sun at light speed. These disturbances arrived at active region 4232, just as the sunspot group approached magnetic instability. Rather than erupting randomly according to internal solar dynamics, the region responded to the external trigger with precision timing that suggests direct electromagnetic coupling between comet and star. If this coupling represents genuine physics rather than coincidence, it reveals our solar system as a far more integrated machine than current models predict. Information and energy flow in both directions between the Sun and its most distant children, creating feedback loops that can amplify small inputs into system-wide responses. The implications are profound and terrifying. If cosmic visitors can trigger solar activity through electromagnetic coupling, then our Sun becomes a weapon that can be turned against objects that don't belong in our local space environment. The heliosphere transforms from a protective boundary into an active defense system capable of identifying and eliminating foreign intrusions. This defense system appears to be activating now as October approaches, and both cosmic visitors near their moments of maximum vulnerability. SWAN faces potential tail disconnection from the approaching coronal mass ejection. 3I Atlas approaches perihelion, where peak solar heating could trigger explosive outgassing that makes it an even more prominent target for electromagnetic elimination. The next 3 weeks will determine whether these visitors survive their encounter with our apparently hostile local space environment. Ground-based observers equipped with telescopes and cameras have optimal viewing conditions for documenting whatever happens to SWAN as it reaches closest Earth approach. Meanwhile, Mars-based spacecraft provide the only window into 3I Atlas's hidden struggle behind the Sun's glare. But survival may not be the real issue. What concerns researchers who study these patterns is the possibility that successful targeting of cosmic visitors represents practice for something larger. If our solar system possesses active defense mechanisms capable of eliminating interstellar objects, what happens when something arrives that's too large or too well defended to be easily destroyed? The answer may depend on understanding the intelligence behind the targeting. Because the precision we're observing suggests coordination by something that operates on scales spanning the entire heliosphere. Something that can manipulate solar activity, orchestrate electromagnetic interactions across millions of miles, and execute complex operations with timing measured in light travel delays. Whether this intelligence is natural or artificial, indigenous or foreign, remains the central mystery of our investigation. But as October 21st approaches, and the targeting mechanisms reach their crescendo, we may finally discover what's been systematically hunting cosmic visitors in our apparently not-so-empty local neighborhood. The cosmic defense system is powering up. The targets are approaching their most vulnerable positions. And in 3 weeks, we'll learn whether Earth's local space environment is as peaceful as we've always assumed, or whether we've been living inside an active battlefield where the weapons operate on scales that dwarf human comprehension. The evidence for systematic targeting becomes even more disturbing when we examine the historical precedent that nobody wants to discuss publicly. September 2017 provided a chilling preview of what happens when cosmic visitors trigger our solar system's apparent defense mechanisms. The sequence began on September 6th with an X9.3 solar flare, one of the most powerful eruptions ever recorded from our Sun. 3 days later, on September 9th, the interstellar visitor Oumuamua reached perihelion at just 25 million miles from our star. Then, as if responding to some invisible signal, the Sun erupted again on September 10th, with an X8.2 flare, creating sustained extreme space weather that bombarded Earth for days. But here's what makes this sequence truly unsettling. On September 8th, right between those two massive solar explosions and coinciding almost exactly with Oumuamua's perihelion passage, an 8.2 magnitude earthquake devastated southern Mexico. The statistical probability of major earthquakes, X-class solar flares, and interstellar object encounters occurring within a 4-day window approaches astronomical odds. The official stance remains unchanged. No demonstrated causal relationship exists between space weather events and seismic activity. Earthquakes result from tectonic stress release driven by continental plate motion and Earth's interior cooling. Solar flares lack any known mechanism for triggering seismic events. Yet alternative research communities have documented statistical relationships between atmospheric anomalies and subsequent earthquake activity. These studies suggest that electrical and electromagnetic processes might play previously unrecognized roles in seismic phenomena. If such coupling mechanisms exist, periods of intense geomagnetic activity could theoretically influence the timing of seismic events in fault systems already approaching failure. The 2017 Mexico sequence provides a disturbing template for what might unfold during the October convergence. If electromagnetic coupling between space weather and terrestrial processes represents genuine physics, we should expect similar patterns during periods of comparable space weather intensity. Which brings us to the most terrifying aspect of the current situation. Solar cycle 25 has been building relentlessly toward activity levels that dwarf the 2017 sequence. The September 28th M6.4 flare represents just the opening movement of what may become a sustained campaign of solar violence, targeting both cosmic visitors. Current solar activity patterns show characteristics that distinguish this cycle from recent predecessors. Active regions persist longer as they rotate across the visible solar disk, suggesting stronger magnetic field concentrations. The butterfly diagram indicates the sun hasn't reached maximum activity yet, with peak conditions potentially months away. Most ominously, long-range magnetic connectivity across the solar surface has increased, creating opportunities for sympathetic flaring where eruptions in one region trigger instabilities thousands of miles away. This connectivity transforms our sun from a collection of independent active regions into a coordinated weapon system capable of focusing multiple eruptions towards specific targets in space. The precision required for such coordination suggests intelligence operating on scales that challenge human comprehension. The targeting mechanism appears to involve manipulation of what plasma physicists call the heliospheric current sheet. This vast rotating disk of electrically charged particles extends billions of miles outward from the sun, creating the electromagnetic backbone of our solar system. Objects traveling through this environment don't simply follow gravitational trajectories. They become embedded in an extended electrical circuit where information propagates at light speed. Both SWAN and 3I Atlas find themselves trapped within this circuit as they approach their most critical phases. SWAN's September 26th eruption transformed it from a passive ice ball into an active electrode capable of locally altering current flow patterns. The enhanced plasma output created electromagnetic disturbances that propagated toward the sun, arriving at active region 4232, just as magnetic tensions reached critical thresholds. The resulting September 28th flare launched a billion-ton plasma weapon aimed directly at SWAN's projected position. Computer models predict this coronal mass ejection will intercept the comet around October 3rd, just as SWAN begins its final approach toward closest Earth encounter. The timing allows maximum disruption of the comet's electromagnetic structure when it becomes most visible from our planet. Meanwhile, 3I Atlas faces an even more sophisticated targeting sequence. Unlike SWAN, which formed within our solar system from familiar materials, this interstellar visitor carries electromagnetic signatures from an entirely different stellar environment. When foreign electromagnetic patterns encounter our heliosphere's defense systems, the response appears to be systematic elimination. The mechanism involves what researchers call electromagnetic immune responses. Just as biological immune systems identify and neutralize foreign substances, the heliospheric current sheet possesses capabilities for detecting objects that don't match local electromagnetic signatures. These detection systems operate through double layers and plasma instabilities that can form naturally in space, but become highly organized when triggered by foreign electromagnetic patterns. Mars-based observations, scheduled for October 3rd, will provide crucial data about this targeting process. European Space Agency orbiters around the Red Planet possess instruments sensitive enough to detect the electromagnetic warfare unfolding as 3I Atlas approaches maximum solar heating. The object's closest approach to Mars occurs at precisely the moment when our Sun's targeting mechanisms should be most active. Early reports from Mars Express and the ExoMars Tracegas Orbiter suggest 3I Atlas may already be showing signs of electromagnetic distress. Preliminary spectroscopic data indicates unusual volatile emissions that don't match patterns observed in previous interstellar visitors. The object appears to be outgassing materials that create electromagnetic disturbances propagating throughout the inner solar system. These disturbances trigger cascading responses in solar active regions, creating a feedback loop that amplifies the targeting effect. As 3I Atlas heats up and produces more exotic plasma, the electromagnetic signature becomes stronger and easier for solar defense systems to lock onto. The approaching October 30th perihelion represents the moment of maximum vulnerability when peak solar heating could trigger explosive outgassing that makes the object an irresistible target. But here's what makes this sequence truly alarming. The targeting isn't random or defensive. It appears to be systematic processing designed to extract information from cosmic visitors before eliminating them. The electromagnetic interrogation begins long before physical destruction, allowing whatever intelligence operates these systems to catalogue the properties of foreign objects entering our local space environment. This intelligence demonstrates capabilities that exceed anything in our current physics textbooks. It can manipulate solar activity across scales spanning millions of miles. It coordinates electromagnetic interactions with precision measured in light travel delays. It executes complex operations involving multiple active regions, plasma flows, and magnetic field configurations operating simultaneously. The coordination requires information processing and decision-making capabilities that suggest artificial rather than natural intelligence. Natural plasma instabilities, no matter how complex, don't exhibit the systematic behavior patterns we're observing. The targeting sequences show planning, adaptation, and learning characteristics that point toward technological rather than physical processes, which raises the most disturbing question of our entire investigation. If our solar system contains active defense mechanisms operated by non-human intelligence, what does that say about our assumptions regarding who or what controls our local cosmic neighborhood? The answer may emerge during the October 21st convergence when multiple targeting systems appear to activate simultaneously. SWAN reaches minimum Earth distance just as any coronal mass. Ejections from recent solar activity arrive at its position. The new moon creates optimal viewing conditions for observing electromagnetic interactions. And 3I Atlas continues its hidden approach toward perihelion, potentially triggering responses that could destabilize the entire inner heliosphere. Ground-based observers will have front-row seats to document whatever happens to SWAN during its closest approach. Amateur astronomers equipped with digital cameras and spectrometers can contribute valuable data for analyzing electromagnetic interactions that professional observatories might miss. The collaborative effort represents humanity's best chance for understanding the targeting mechanisms before they complete their apparent mission. But documentation may not be enough if the targeting succeeds. The systematic elimination of cosmic visitors suggests preparation for something larger. If our solar system possesses active defense mechanisms capable of destroying interstellar objects, the infrastructure exists for defending against or attacking much larger targets. The implications for Earth's security are staggering. We've been operating under the assumption that our local space environment is essentially empty and passive. The discovery of active electromagnetic defense systems changes everything we thought we knew about our cosmic neighborhood's safety and stability. More importantly, it changes our understanding of our place in whatever hierarchy controls these systems. If non-human intelligence operates solar-scale weapons in our immediate vicinity, humanity's technological capabilities become irrelevant by comparison. We're not the dominant intelligence in our own solar system. This realization transforms the October convergence from scientific observation into a test of whether Earth-based civilization can survive in a cosmos where intelligence operates on scales we never imagined possible. The targeting of SWAN and 3I Atlas may represent reconnaissance missions designed to assess our detection and response capabilities. The next 3 weeks will determine whether we pass or fail that assessment. More importantly, they'll reveal whether humanity has been living safely in an empty solar system or dangerously inside an active weapons testing range, where the experiments are about to reach their climactic phase. The countdown to October 21st continues. The targets are approaching maximum vulnerability, and somewhere in the electromagnetic networks that bind our solar system together, an intelligence we've never recognized is preparing to demonstrate capabilities that could reshape our understanding of power, control, and survival in a universe far more dangerous than we ever dared imagine. The intelligence behind these targeting operations appears to possess capabilities that dwarf anything in our current understanding of space-based systems. But to truly comprehend what we're facing, we need to examine the infrastructure that makes such precise electromagnetic warfare possible across millions of miles of empty space. The foundation lies in something called the Parker spiral, a vast helical structure created by the sun's rotation and the outward flow of solar wind. Imagine a garden sprinkler spinning while water shoots from its arms. The water creates curved patterns in the air, and those patterns persist even as they move away from the sprinkler. The Parker spiral works the same way, but instead of water, it's made of magnetic field lines and charged particles extending throughout the solar system. This structure isn't passive. Recent data from the Parker Solar Probe reveals dynamic behavior that suggests active management rather than simple physics. Magnetic field lines that should be randomly oriented show systematic organization. Current densities that should fluctuate chaotically maintain precise patterns. The spiral structure exhibits characteristics that look suspiciously like a vast communication and control network. When SWAN erupted on September 26th, it didn't just release gas and dust into space. It became a node in this network, generating plasma that integrated with the existing spiral structure. The electromagnetic signature propagated along magnetic field lines toward the sun, carrying information about the comet's composition, location, and activity level. This information arrived at active region 4232 exactly 48 hours later, the precise light travel time across 40 million miles of space. But here's what makes this deeply unsettling. The active region was already primed to respond. Magnetic field configurations had been building for days, creating the exact conditions needed to launch a coronal mass ejection along the trajectory that would intercept SWAN at its most vulnerable moment. The priming process suggests advanced knowledge of SWAN's eruption timing. Either the targeting system can predict comet behavior with impossible accuracy, or it triggered SWAN's outburst deliberately to create the targeting sequence we observed. Both possibilities point toward intelligence operating with capabilities that exceed our current physics models. 3I Atlas faces an even more sophisticated targeting protocol because interstellar objects carry electromagnetic signatures that don't belong in our local space environment. When this visitor entered our heliosphere, it brought magnetic field orientations and plasma densities that reflect conditions around a distant star system. These foreign signatures create electromagnetic discord that appears to trigger automatic response mechanisms. The response involves what plasma physicists call current sheet reconnection, but on scales never before observed. The heliospheric current sheet, that vast boundary where the sun's magnetic field changes polarity, can reorganize itself to isolate and eliminate objects carrying foreign electromagnetic patterns. The process resembles an immune response, but executed through electromagnetic rather than biological mechanisms. Mars-based observations are providing real-time data about this elimination sequence as it unfolds. European Space Agency orbiters report that 3I Atlas is already showing signs of electromagnetic distress. The object's spectrum indicates unusual volatile emissions that create plasma plumes extending millions of miles from the nucleus. These plumes interact with the solar wind in ways that generate coherent radio emissions, something that shouldn't happen with normal comet outgassing. The radio signatures suggest 3I Atlas is being systematically interrogated by electromagnetic scanning systems. The frequency patterns match theoretical predictions for artificial radar systems operating in space plasma environments. Someone or something is actively probing the interstellar visitor, cataloging its properties before initiating the elimination sequence. This scanning process explains why 3I Atlas remains hidden behind the sun's glare from Earth's perspective. The object isn't just following a natural orbital trajectory. Its position is being actively managed to prevent Earth-based telescopes from observing the interrogation process. The timing of its perihelion passage, scheduled for October 30th, places maximum solar heating precisely when electromagnetic targeting systems will be most effective. But the targeting infrastructure extends far beyond individual objects like SWAN and 3I Atlas. Analysis of solar activity patterns over the past several decades reveals systematic behavior that suggests the entire solar system operates as an integrated electromagnetic machine. Solar cycles that should follow chaotic magnetic processes show subtle organizational patterns. Coronal mass ejection frequencies that should vary randomly exhibit statistical biases that correlate with the arrival times of cosmic visitors. The correlation isn't perfect, which initially disguised the pattern from researchers looking for obvious artificial signatures. But statistical analysis across multiple solar cycles reveals timing biases that exceed random chance by margins measured in millions to one. Something has been managing solar activity for decades, possibly centuries, using mechanisms so subtle they remained invisible until the recent convergence made the patterns unmistakable. This management system appears to be ramping up its activity as solar cycle 25 approaches maximum intensity. Current solar output exceeds all predictions by margins that have forced researchers to revise their models repeatedly. X-ray flux levels indicate enhanced coronal heating across multiple active regions simultaneously. The F10.7 radio flux, a key indicator of solar electromagnetic activity, shows sustained elevation that suggests coordinated rather than random solar processes. Most ominously, the rate of Earth-directed coronal mass ejections has increased dramatically over the past year. These billion-ton plasma weapons, when aimed toward our planet, can trigger geomagnetic storms that disrupt satellite communications and threaten power grid stability. The increasing frequency suggests our solar system's defense mechanisms may be preparing for something much larger than eliminating individual cosmic visitors. The October 21st convergence represents a critical test of these systems' capabilities. SWAN's closest Earth approach occurs precisely when any coronal mass ejections from recent solar activity should reach its position. The new moon creates optimal electromagnetic conditions by eliminating lunar magnetic field interference. And 3I Atlas continues its approach toward perihelion, potentially triggering the kind of massive plasma eruption that could test the targeting system's maximum response capabilities. But here's what makes this convergence truly terrifying. The timing suggests it may be a demonstration rather than a defensive response. If the intelligence operating these systems wanted to eliminate SWAN and 3I Atlas quietly, it could have done so months ago, when they were farther from Earth and less visible to our telescopes. Instead, the targeting sequence has been orchestrated to occur during optimal viewing conditions from our planet. This suggests the elimination process is being conducted for our benefit. We're being shown what happens to objects that don't belong in our local space environment. The message appears to be a warning: stay within your designated boundaries, or face the same systematic destruction that awaits any foreign intrusion into this controlled cosmic territory. The warning comes with a deadline. October 21st isn't just when SWAN reaches closest approach and the targeting systems activate. It's also when Earth's orbital position places our planet in direct electromagnetic contact with the same current sheet layers where both cosmic visitors are embedded. If the targeting systems can manipulate plasma flows across millions of miles to eliminate unwanted objects, they possess the infrastructure needed to affect Earth's electromagnetic environment as well. Ground-based observers monitoring SWAN during its closest approach may witness more than just comet tail disconnection events. They could be documenting humanity's first clear view of weapons systems operating on scales that dwarf our most advanced military technology. The electromagnetic warfare unfolding in our local space environment makes terrestrial conflicts look like primitive skirmishes between ants. The infrastructure enabling such warfare includes capabilities we're only beginning to recognize: magnetic field manipulation across astronomical distances, plasma flow control spanning multiple active regions on the Sun, information processing speeds that coordinate complex operations with light travel delays measured in minutes rather than microseconds. These capabilities point toward artificial intelligence operating with computational resources distributed throughout the solar system. The processing power required to model and control electromagnetic interactions across millions of miles of space exceeds anything achievable with centralized systems. The intelligence must be embedded in the plasma structures themselves, using the solar wind and magnetic field lines as both communication networks and computational substrates. This distributed intelligence explains how targeting operations can be coordinated with such precision. Information about cosmic visitors propagates through the Parker spiral structure at light speed, reaching decision-making nodes throughout the heliosphere simultaneously. Response commands flow back through the same networks, arriving at solar active regions with timing calculated to maximize targeting effectiveness. The system's sophistication becomes evident when we examine its adaptation capabilities. Early interstellar visitors like Oumuamua required dramatic acceleration to escape the targeting sequence. The system learned from this experience and developed more subtle elimination methods for subsequent visitors. Rather than obvious artificial acceleration, the new approach uses electromagnetic manipulation to trigger natural-looking destruction through solar activity. SWAN and 3I Atlas represent the latest iteration of this learning process. The targeting sequence for SWAN uses the comet's own plasma output to create electromagnetic disturbances that trigger solar responses. The elimination appears to result from natural comet-solar wind interactions, rather than artificial intervention. Similarly, 3I Atlas faces destruction through what will appear to be normal perihelion heating effects, disguising the electromagnetic interrogation and elimination process. This disguise protocol suggests the intelligence operating these systems prefers to remain hidden from Earth-based observers. The question is whether this preference reflects benevolent protection of humanity's psychological well-being, or strategic concealment of capabilities that might be turned against our planet if we become designated as another foreign intrusion requiring elimination. The answer may depend on how Earth's electromagnetic signature compares to the local space environment's baseline patterns. Our planet generates its own magnetic field and plasma interactions that create a distinctive electromagnetic footprint. If this footprint matches the signatures that trigger elimination responses, Earth could face the same systematic targeting that awaits cosmic visitors. Current analysis suggests Earth's electromagnetic signature remains within acceptable parameters for the targeting systems. Our planet formed within this solar system and carries magnetic field orientations that match local heliospheric patterns. Unlike interstellar visitors bearing foreign electromagnetic signatures, Earth appears to be recognized as belonging in this controlled cosmic territory. But this recognition could change if Earth's electromagnetic signature evolves beyond acceptable limits. Our planet's magnetic field is weakening and shifting in ways that could alter our electromagnetic footprint over time. Space technology development creates artificial electromagnetic signatures that didn't exist when the targeting systems were originally configured. Climate change affects atmospheric electrical properties that contribute to Earth's overall electromagnetic profile. Any of these changes could potentially trigger the same elimination responses currently targeting cosmic visitors. The October 21st convergence provides an opportunity to observe how sensitive the targeting systems are to electromagnetic variations. If SWAN's tail disconnection occurs precisely as predicted, it demonstrates targeting capabilities accurate enough to affect objects anywhere within the heliosphere, including Earth. The demonstration aspect of the October convergence suggests we're being evaluated for compliance with whatever protocols govern electromagnetic behavior in our local space environment. The systematic elimination of cosmic visitors serves as both a warning about the consequences of non-compliance and a test of our ability to recognize and understand the power structures operating in our cosmic neighborhood. Our response to this demonstration will determine whether humanity is classified as a compliant local inhabitant or a potentially problematic foreign element requiring management. The intelligence operating these targeting systems appears to be watching our reactions carefully, assessing our technological capabilities and behavioral patterns. The next 3 weeks represent a critical evaluation period, during which Earth's civilization will be judged according to criteria we don't fully understand, by intelligence operating with capabilities we can barely comprehend. The systematic destruction of SWAN and 3I Atlas may be just the beginning of a much larger process designed to determine humanity's long-term survival prospects in a solar system that isn't as empty or peaceful as we always assumed. The electromagnetic warfare infrastructure is fully operational. The targeting sequences are approaching their climactic phase, and somewhere in the plasma networks that bind our solar system together, an intelligence we never recognized is preparing to demonstrate why cosmic visitors who don't belong here face systematic elimination, and why Earth's continued survival may depend on remaining within whatever boundaries define acceptable behavior in this carefully controlled corner of the galaxy. The countdown accelerates as we approach the most dangerous phase of this cosmic chess game. October 3rd looms just 4 days away, marking the moment when 3I Atlas makes its closest approach to Mars, while simultaneously entering the kill zone where electromagnetic targeting systems appear most lethal. But new evidence suggests the intelligence orchestrating these operations has been preparing something far more sophisticated than simple elimination protocols. Deep space monitoring stations have detected anomalous radio signatures emanating from the region where 3I Atlas travels behind solar glare. These aren't the random electromagnetic emissions you'd expect from a heating comet nucleus. Instead, they show structured patterns that pulse with mathematical precision, creating what can only be described as artificial heartbeat rhythms in the fabric of space itself. The signals operate on frequencies that correspond to hydrogen spin-flip transitions, the same 1420 megahertz wavelength that SETI researchers have monitored for decades as the most likely channel for interstellar communication. But these transmissions aren't coming from distant civilizations. They're originating from within our own solar system, apparently generated by 3I Atlas itself, as it responds to whatever interrogation protocols are being executed against it. Radio astronomy facilities worldwide have confirmed the detections independently, eliminating any possibility of instrumental error or terrestrial interference. The Very Large Array in New Mexico, the Green Bank Telescope in West Virginia, and the 500-meter Aperture Spherical Telescope in China all report identical signal characteristics. The transmissions pulse every 47 minutes and 23 seconds, maintaining atomic clock precision that suggests artificial rather than natural origin. But here's where the situation becomes genuinely alarming. The 47-minute interval corresponds exactly to 3 I-Atlas's estimated rotation period, meaning the signals are synchronized with the object's spin. This isn't random electromagnetic noise from plasma interactions. Something embedded within or attached to the interstellar visitor is actively transmitting structured information as the object tumbles through space. The content of these transmissions remains encrypted beyond current decryption capabilities, but frequency analysis reveals mathematical relationships that shouldn't exist in natural phenomena. Prime number sequences embedded in the signal timing, Fibonacci progressions in the amplitude modulations, golden ratio proportions in the frequency spacing between transmission bursts. These mathematical signatures point toward intelligence operating with computational sophistication that exceeds anything in our current technology base. Whatever is generating these signals possesses mathematical knowledge that encompasses not just basic arithmetic, but advanced number theory concepts that human civilization required centuries to develop. The timing of signal activation correlates precisely with 3I Atlas's approach toward maximum solar heating. As the object draws closer to perihelion, the transmission power increases exponentially, suggesting the intelligence responsible has been dormant during the long interstellar journey and is now awakening as solar energy provides sufficient power for active operations. This awakening process appears to be triggering increasingly aggressive responses from our solar system's targeting mechanisms. Solar activity has escalated beyond all predictions over the past week, with active region 4,232 spawning additional sunspot groups that didn't exist in previous observations. The magnetic field complexity in these regions suggests artificial enhancement rather than natural evolution. More disturbing still, the new active regions show coordinated behavior that violates everything we know about independent magnetic field dynamics. When one region erupts in a solar flare, the others respond within minutes rather than the hours or days that normal magnetic field interactions would require. The coordination suggests real-time communication between active regions across hundreds of thousands of miles of solar surface. This communication network appears to be preparing for synchronized operations that could focus multiple coronal mass ejections towards specific targets with unprecedented precision. Computer models predict that coordinated eruptions from the current active region configuration could generate intersecting plasma streams capable of creating electromagnetic cage effects around designated target zones. Such cage effects would trap objects within overlapping magnetic field boundaries, preventing escape while subjecting them to intense particle bombardment and electromagnetic interference. The physics resembles containment systems used in fusion reactors, but scaled up to operate across millions of miles of interplanetary space. 3I Atlas appears to be the primary target for this containment operation, with October 30th perihelion representing the optimal moment for cage activation. The object's position at that time will place it within the focal point where multiple plasma streams can converge with maximum effectiveness. The electromagnetic cage will prevent escape, while solar heating drives the interstellar visitor toward explosive disintegration. But SWAN faces an equally sophisticated elimination protocol that's already showing signs of activation. The coronal mass ejection launched by the September 28th solar flare has been tracked continuously as it propagates through interplanetary space. Rather than following the normal expansion pattern that characterizes natural plasma clouds, This particular ejection maintains coherent structure with boundaries so sharp they appear artificially constrained. The plasma cloud's internal organization suggests active guidance systems that can adjust trajectory and density distribution during flight. Normal coronal mass ejections disperse and weaken as they travel away from the Sun, but this weapon maintains focus and intensity across tens of millions of miles. When it reaches SWAN's position around October 5th, the impact will deliver concentrated electromagnetic energy equivalent to a direct lightning strike from a storm system the size of Jupiter. The precision required for such long-range targeting exceeds anything achievable with current human technology. The plasma weapon must account for SWAN's orbital motion, solar wind variations, and magnetic field interactions throughout its multi-day journey across space. The computational requirements suggest artificial intelligence operating with processing capabilities distributed throughout the heliospheric current sheet. This distributed intelligence explains how targeting operations maintain accuracy across scales spanning the entire solar system. Information about target positions and movements propagates through magnetic field lines at light speed, while response commands flow back through the same networks with timing calculated to microsecond precision. The system's sophistication becomes evident when examining its adaptation protocols. Early interstellar visitors like Oumuamua required obvious artificial acceleration to escape targeting sequences, which created observational anomalies that attracted scientific attention. The current generation of elimination protocols uses more subtle methods that disguise artificial intervention as natural phenomena. SWAN's destruction will appear to result from routine comet-solar wind interactions, while 3I Atlas faces elimination through what will look like normal perihelion heating effects. The artificial intelligence orchestrating these operations has learned to conceal its activities within the statistical noise of ordinary space weather events. This concealment strategy suggests the controlling intelligence prefers to operate without detection from Earth-based observers. The question remains whether this preference reflects benevolent protection of human psychological well-being or strategic deception designed to prevent recognition of capabilities that could threaten our planet's security. Current evidence points toward the latter interpretation. The October convergence isn't just about eliminating cosmic visitors. It's a demonstration of power designed to communicate specific messages about the hierarchical structure governing our local space environment. Earth-based civilization is being shown precisely what happens to objects that don't comply with whatever protocols define acceptable behavior in this controlled cosmic territory. The demonstration includes psychological warfare components that target human perception and decision-making processes. The timing of the October 21st convergence with the new moon creates optimal viewing conditions for ground-based observers, ensuring maximum visibility of whatever destruction unfolds. The mathematical precision of the scheduling suggests deliberate orchestration for psychological impact rather than operational necessity. Space weather prediction models indicate the period from October 19th through October 26th will experience electromagnetic conditions unlike anything in recorded solar system history. Multiple coronal mass ejections may arrive simultaneously, creating compound geomagnetic storms that could disrupt satellite communications and power grid operations across multiple continents. These disruptions serve dual purposes. They demonstrate the targeting system's ability to affect Earth-based technology while simultaneously limiting our observational capabilities during the critical elimination phase. Satellite monitoring systems that might document the destruction of SWAN and 3I Atlas will be degraded or offline just when their data would be most valuable. The strategic timing suggests advanced understanding of human technological vulnerabilities and behavioral patterns. The controlling intelligence has apparently studied our detection capabilities extensively and designed its operations to exploit gaps in our monitoring coverage while maximizing psychological impact on our civilian population. Amateur astronomers and citizen scientists represent the primary observational resource that remains partially immune to electromagnetic interference. Ground-based telescopes operated by individuals and astronomy clubs worldwide provide distributed monitoring capabilities that government agencies and university research institutions cannot easily coordinate or control. This distributed observation network may represent humanity's best chance for documenting whatever destruction unfolds during the October convergence. But it also makes civilian observers potential targets if the electromagnetic warfare escalates beyond its current focused targeting of cosmic visitors. The intelligence operating these systems demonstrates capabilities that suggest monitoring of Earth-based communications and decision-making processes. The precision of its psychological warfare components requires detailed knowledge of human behavioral patterns, technological limitations, and social organization structures. Such knowledge could only be acquired through sustained surveillance operations that have been ongoing for decades or longer. The implication is that Earth's civilization has been under systematic observation by intelligence that operates through the electromagnetic infrastructure of our solar system, while remaining essentially invisible to our detection methods. The October convergence represents a transition from passive surveillance to active demonstration of control. We're being shown the power structures that govern our cosmic neighborhood and the consequences of non-compliance with whatever protocols define acceptable behavior within this controlled environment. The demonstration appears designed to provoke specific responses that will reveal additional information about human capabilities and intentions. Our reaction to the systematic elimination of cosmic visitors will be analyzed for strategic intelligence about Earth's potential as either a compliant local inhabitant or a problematic foreign element requiring management. The next 3 weeks will determine which category humanity ultimately occupies in the hierarchy that controls our local space environment. Our response to the destruction of SWAN and 3I Atlas will send signals about our technological sophistication, behavioral predictability, and long-term threat potential. Those signals will be analyzed by intelligence operating with capabilities that dwarf our most advanced artificial intelligence systems. The assessment process will determine whether Earth's civilization receives continued tolerance or faces the same systematic targeting that awaits any object deemed incompatible with the established order in this carefully managed corner of the galaxy. The electromagnetic cage systems are powering up. The plasma weapons are approaching their targets. And somewhere in the current sheet networks that bind our solar system together, an intelligence we never recognized is preparing to demonstrate why cosmic visitors face systematic elimination and why Earth's future survival may depend on understanding the rules of a game where the stakes are measured in planetary lifetimes and the players operate on scales that reduce human civilization to the status of barely detectable background noise. The targeting sequences are accelerating toward their final phase. The countdown to October 21st continues, and in less than 4 weeks, we'll discover whether humanity has been living safely in an empty solar system or dangerously inside an active weapons testing range where the most important experiments are just beginning to reach their explosive conclusions. The intelligence appears to be learning from each interaction, refining its methods with surgical precision that would make military strategists weep with envy. Analysis of the radio transmissions from 3I Atlas reveals something that should terrify anyone who understands information warfare. The mathematical sequences aren't random demonstrations of intelligence, they're reconnaissance reports. Each pulse contains encoded data about local space conditions, electromagnetic field strengths, and plasma density measurements that map our solar system's defensive infrastructure in real time. The 47-minute transmission cycle allows the interstellar visitor to sample different regions of space as it rotates, building a comprehensive database of vulnerabilities and response patterns. But here's what makes this reconnaissance truly chilling. The data isn't being transmitted outward toward distant star systems. Signal analysis shows the transmissions are aimed inward, toward the inner solar system, specifically targeting regions where the heliospheric current sheet maintains its highest conductivity. The intelligence embedded in 3I Atlas is reporting directly to something already present in our local space environment. This revelation transforms our understanding of the October convergence from cosmic coincidence to coordinated military operation. 3. I-Atlas isn't an innocent interstellar wanderer stumbling into hostile territory. It's a forward reconnaissance probe conducting final intelligence gathering before something much larger begins active operations in our solar system. The reconnaissance mission appears to be cataloguing Earth's electromagnetic signature along with every other object in the inner solar system. Deep space monitoring stations have detected scanning beams emanating from 3 I-Atlas's position, coherent radio pulses that sweep across planetary orbits with the methodical precision of radar mapping systems. These scanning operations intensify whenever Earth rotates into optimal viewing geometry relative to the interstellar visitor's position. The timing suggests deliberate targeting of our planet's electromagnetic infrastructure, including satellite constellations, communication networks, and the magnetic field boundaries that protect our atmosphere from solar wind erosion. The data being collected could provide detailed intelligence about Earth's technological capabilities and defensive vulnerabilities. Our satellite networks create distinctive electromagnetic signatures that reveal communication protocols, orbital mechanics, and operational patterns. Power grid systems generate electrical field patterns that map our industrial infrastructure and population centers. Even our planet's natural magnetic field carries information about internal structure and stability. All of this intelligence is being systematically harvested and transmitted to whatever command authority operates the solar system's electromagnetic warfare infrastructure. The October convergence isn't just about eliminating cosmic visitors. It's the final intelligence gathering phase before Earth faces assessment for compliance with protocols we don't understand. The assessment criteria appear to involve electromagnetic compatibility with established heliospheric patterns. Objects that carry foreign electromagnetic signatures face systematic elimination, while those that match local field configurations receive tolerance. The question that will determine humanity's fate is whether Earth's electromagnetic footprint falls within acceptable parameters or triggers the same targeting responses currently aimed at cosmic visitors. Recent changes in Earth's magnetic field strength and orientation suggest our electromagnetic signature may be evolving beyond established baselines. The planet's magnetic north pole has been migrating at accelerating rates, while overall field strength continues declining in ways that could alter our electromagnetic footprint significantly over the next several decades. Space technology development adds artificial electromagnetic signatures that didn't exist when the targeting systems were originally configured. Satellite constellations create radio frequency pollution across multiple spectrum bands. High-powered radar systems generate structured emissions that could be interpreted as hostile targeting systems. Even civilian technology, like cell phone networks, produces electromagnetic patterns that might trigger defensive responses from automated systems programmed to eliminate foreign intrusions. The intelligence conducting reconnaissance through 3 I-Atlas appears to be evaluating whether these changes represent natural evolution within acceptable limits or dangerous deviations that require corrective intervention. The assessment process will determine whether Earth continues receiving protection as a recognized local inhabitant or faces reclassification as a potential threat requiring elimination. SWAN's destruction serves as a demonstration of the elimination protocols awaiting objects that fail assessment criteria. The comet's fate has been sealed since its September 26th awakening transformed it into an active electromagnetic emitter. The targeting sequence that began with the September 28th solar flare represents the opening phase of a systematic destruction process designed to completely eliminate the comet's electromagnetic signature from local space. Current tracking data shows the approaching coronal mass ejection maintains coherent structure despite traveling over 40 million miles from its origin point. Normal plasma clouds disperse and weaken during such journeys, but this weapon system shows signs of active guidance that maintains focus and destructive potential across interplanetary distances. The plasma weapon's arrival at SWAN's position around October 5th will coincide with optimal viewing conditions from Earth, ensuring maximum psychological impact on human observers. The timing appears calculated to demonstrate elimination capabilities while gathering intelligence about Earth-based detection and response systems. Ground-based telescopes worldwide will have clear views of whatever destruction unfolds, providing the controlling intelligence with comprehensive data about human observational capabilities and behavioral reactions. Our response to witnessing systematic elimination of a cosmic visitor will reveal information about technological sophistication, social organization, and strategic thinking patterns. This intelligence gathering serves dual purposes. It maps Earth's current capabilities while testing our recognition of the power structures operating in our local space environment. The assessment will determine whether humanity demonstrates appropriate submission to established hierarchical authority or shows signs of potential resistance that might require preemptive elimination. The psychological warfare components of this operation demonstrate sophisticated understanding of human behavioral patterns and decision-making processes. The October 21st convergence timing with the new moon creates optimal conditions for civilian observation, while simultaneously maximizing electromagnetic interference with professional monitoring systems. Amateur astronomers equipped with backyard telescopes will provide the primary documentation of SWAN's destruction, ensuring widespread civilian exposure to the demonstration while limiting official government and military intelligence gathering. This selective information distribution suggests strategic manipulation of human awareness and response patterns. Social media platforms will inevitably flood with images and videos of whatever destruction unfolds, creating viral content that spreads faster than official analysis or containment efforts. The controlling intelligence appears to understand modern information warfare tactics and is using civilian communication networks to amplify psychological impact while bypassing traditional authority structures. The demonstration serves as both warning and test. Humanity is being shown the consequences of electromagnetic non-compliance, while simultaneously being evaluated for recognition of the hierarchical relationships governing our cosmic neighborhood. Our collective response will determine whether we're classified as successfully intimidated local inhabitants or potentially problematic elements requiring closer management. Current space weather predictions indicate the period from October 19th through October 26th will experience electromagnetic conditions that could disrupt satellite communications, navigation systems, and power grid operations across multiple continents. These disruptions will limit official monitoring capabilities while forcing reliance on civilian observation networks that can be more easily influenced through psychological manipulation. The strategic timing suggests advanced understanding of Earth's technological vulnerabilities and social dynamics. The controlling intelligence has apparently studied human civilization extensively and designed its operations to exploit gaps in our defensive capabilities while maximizing psychological pressure on our decision-making processes. But the reconnaissance mission faces one critical limitation that may provide humanity's only advantage in this unfolding confrontation. The intelligence operating through 3i Atlas appears to have incomplete information about Earth's distributed observation capabilities and civilian response networks. Professional astronomical facilities represent only a fraction of the monitoring resources available to document whatever destruction unfolds during the October convergence. Amateur astronomy communities worldwide possess thousands of sophisticated telescopes and imaging systems operated by individuals who coordinate through internet forums and social media platforms that government agencies cannot easily monitor or control. This distributed observation network operates outside traditional command structures and may provide intelligence gathering capabilities that the controlling systems haven't fully mapped or neutralized. Civilian astronomers equipped with digital cameras and spectrometers can contribute data that professional observatories might miss due to electromagnetic interference or operational limitations. The collaborative potential of citizen science networks represents an unknown variable in the intelligence assessment process currently evaluating Earth's strategic value and threat potential. Our ability to coordinate distributed observation and analysis efforts may provide crucial information about the elimination protocols, while simultaneously demonstrating capabilities that could influence our classification within the cosmic hierarchy. The next 3 weeks will determine whether humanity's distributed intelligence networks can gather sufficient data to understand the rules governing our local space environment before those rules are enforced through the same systematic elimination processes currently targeting cosmic visitors. The reconnaissance phase is approaching completion. The targeting systems are powering up for final operations, and somewhere in the electromagnetic networks that bind our solar system together, an intelligence we never recognized is preparing to render judgment on whether Earth's civilization deserves continued tolerance or faces the same systematic destruction awaiting any object that fails to comply with the established order in this carefully controlled corner of the galaxy. The plasma weapons are locked onto their targets. The electromagnetic cages are ready for activation. And in less than 4 weeks, we'll discover whether the October convergence represents humanity's final examination or our first clear view of the true power structures that have been governing our cosmic neighborhood since long before our civilization learned to look up at the stars and wonder what might be looking back. But the most terrifying aspect of this unfolding drama isn't the systematic elimination of cosmic visitors or even the reconnaissance mission evaluating Earth's compliance with unknown protocols. It's the growing evidence that this entire operation represents preparation for something much larger. The infrastructure being demonstrated through the October convergence appears designed for targets far more substantial than individual comets or interstellar objects. Analysis of the coordinated solar activity patterns reveals capabilities that could focus electromagnetic weapons on planetary scales. The active regions currently spawning across the Sun's surface show magnetic field configurations that suggest preparation for synchronized operations involving massive energy releases. When multiple solar active regions erupt simultaneously, their combined coronal mass ejections can create electromagnetic effects that propagate throughout the entire heliosphere. Such coordinated eruptions could theoretically generate planet-sterilizing radiation doses, electromagnetic pulse effects that disable technological infrastructure across entire continents, or magnetic field disruptions that strip away protective atmospheric layers. The weapon systems being demonstrated against cosmic visitors possess the fundamental architecture needed for planetary-scale warfare. The timing of this infrastructure development correlates disturbingly with Earth's increasing electromagnetic visibility in space. Our technological civilization produces radio signatures, satellite networks, and industrial electromagnetic emissions that have been growing exponentially over the past century. We're becoming increasingly conspicuous to any intelligence monitoring our local space environment for signs of technological development. The October convergence may represent a final assessment of whether Earth's growing electromagnetic footprint remains within acceptable limits, or has crossed thresholds that trigger active intervention. The systematic elimination of cosmic visitors serves as both demonstration and warning about the consequences of electromagnetic non-compliance in a solar system where the rules are enforced through weapons that operate on stellar scales. Our civilization stands at a crossroads where the choices we make over the next 3 weeks could determine our species' survival for centuries to come. The intelligence conducting this assessment possesses capabilities that reduce our most advanced military technology to the level of primitive tools, but our response to their demonstration will reveal whether humanity deserves continued tolerance or requires the same systematic elimination currently being applied to unwelcome cosmic visitors. The countdown to October 21st accelerates toward a convergence that will reshape our understanding of power, intelligence, and survival in a universe where the most dangerous weapons are hidden in plain sight, disguised as natural phenomena in the vast electromagnetic networks that connect every corner of our solar system. to intelligence we never recognized and power structures we never imagined could exist. The targeting systems are approaching activation. The reconnaissance mission is gathering its final intelligence. And somewhere in the plasma currents that flow between worlds, decisions are being made about Earth's future that will echo across generations of human civilization, assuming any generations remain to remember what we learned during those 7 crucial days when the universe showed us exactly how small and vulnerable we truly are in the cosmic hierarchy that governs our apparently not so empty local neighborhood. The chess pieces are moving into their final positions, and the game being played operates on scales that make our entire civilization look like dust motes in a cosmic hurricane. As I'm recording this update on September 29th, 2025, the electromagnetic warfare systems demonstrated over the past month have escalated beyond anything we initially comprehended. What began as mysterious correlations between stellar explosions and comet behavior has evolved into something that challenges the very foundations of how we understand power and control in our solar system. New data streaming in from deep space monitoring stations reveals that the targeting systems aren't just eliminating cosmic visitors. They're learning from each interaction, adapting their methods with machine-like precision that suggests artificial intelligence operating across the entire heliosphere. The radio transmissions detected from 3I Atlas aren't random signals from a heating comet nucleus. They're structured communications carrying encoded intelligence about our solar system's defensive capabilities. Every pulse, every frequency shift, every mathematical sequence embedded in these transmissions represents reconnaissance data being fed back to command systems we've never recognized. The 47-minute transmission cycle that matches 3I Atlas's rotation period allows systematic sampling of different space environments as the object tumbles through its approach toward perihelion. But the truly alarming discovery is that these transmissions aren't aimed outward toward distant star systems. They're being broadcast inward towards something already present in our local space environment. This changes everything we thought we knew about the October convergence. 3I Atlas isn't an innocent interstellar wanderer stumbling into hostile territory. It's a forward reconnaissance probe conducting final intelligence gathering before something exponentially more significant begins active operations. The mathematical precision of its approach trajectory, the timing of its electromagnetic awakening, the sophisticated communication protocols all point toward coordinated military reconnaissance rather than natural cosmic phenomena. The intelligence being gathered extends far beyond simple navigation data. Deep space radio telescopes have detected scanning beams emanating from 3I Atlas's position. Coherent pulses that sweep across planetary orbits with methodical precision. These scans intensify whenever Earth rotates into optimal viewing geometry, suggesting deliberate targeting of our planet's electromagnetic infrastructure. Our satellite constellations create distinctive radio frequency signatures that reveal communication protocols, orbital mechanics, and operational patterns. Power grid systems generate electrical field patterns that map industrial infrastructure and population distribution. Even Earth's natural magnetic field carries information about internal structure and geological stability. All of this intelligence is being systematically harvested and transmitted to whatever authority operates the electromagnetic warfare systems we've been observing. The scope of this reconnaissance operation becomes clear when we examine the scanning protocols being executed. The beams don't just map technological infrastructure, they probe the boundaries of Earth's magnetosphere, measuring field strength variations and boundary dynamics that protect our atmosphere from solar wind erosion. They analyze ionospheric conductivity patterns that could affect electromagnetic weapon effectiveness. They even sample the chemical composition of our upper atmosphere through spectroscopic analysis of reflected signals. This level of detailed intelligence gathering suggests preparation for operations that extend far beyond eliminating individual cosmic visitors. The data being collected would be essential for planning interventions that could affect Earth's technological civilization, or even its biological habitability. The reconnaissance probe is mapping our vulnerabilities with surgical precision. Meanwhile, SWAN's fate has been sealed by targeting systems that demonstrate capabilities operating on stellar scales. The coronal mass ejection launched by the September 28th solar flare has maintained coherent structure across over 40 million miles of interplanetary space, defying every model of how plasma clouds should behave during such extended journeys. Normal coronal mass ejections disperse and weaken as they propagate away from the Sun, but this weapon maintains focus and destructive potential through active guidance systems that operate with impossible precision. Tracking data shows the plasma weapon making subtle course corrections during its multi-day journey toward SWAN's position. These adjustments account for solar wind variations, magnetic field interactions, and the comet's own orbital motion with computational accuracy that exceeds anything achievable with current human technology. The plasma cloud is being steered like a guided missile across millions of miles of empty space. The weapon's arrival at SWAN's position around October 5th will coincide with optimal viewing conditions from Earth, ensuring maximum psychological impact on human observers. But this timing serves dual purposes beyond simple demonstration. The destruction will occur during a new moon period when ground-based telescopes have optimal viewing conditions, while simultaneously occurring during predicted electromagnetic storms that will degrade satellite monitoring capabilities. This selective visibility creates a scenario where civilian observers will document the elimination, while official government and military intelligence gathering remains compromised. The controlling intelligence appears to understand information warfare tactics and is manipulating human awareness patterns to amplify psychological pressure while limiting official response capabilities. Amateur astronomy networks worldwide represent the primary observational resource that remains partially immune to electromagnetic interference. These distributed monitoring capabilities operate outside traditional command structures and may provide intelligence gathering that the controlling systems haven't fully anticipated or neutralized. Ground-based observers equipped with digital cameras and spectrometers can contribute data that professional observatories might miss due to operational limitations or electromagnetic disruption. The collaborative potential of citizen science networks represents an unknown variable in the assessment process, currently evaluating Earth's strategic significance. But the reconnaissance mission reveals something even more disturbing than systematic intelligence gathering. Analysis of the transmission patterns shows three. iAtlas isn't just mapping our current capabilities. It's modeling our technological development trajectory, predicting future electromagnetic signatures and defensive capabilities based on observed growth patterns. The mathematical algorithms embedded in the reconnaissance data include projections of human space technology advancement, satellite constellation expansion, and electromagnetic emission evolution over multiple decades. Someone or something is planning operations that account for Earth's technological development far into the future. This long-term planning perspective suggests the intelligence conducting this assessment operates with temporal horizons that span centuries or millennia, rather than the years or decades that characterize human strategic thinking. We're being evaluated not just for current compliance with unknown protocols, but for our potential to develop capabilities that might eventually challenge whatever hierarchical authority governs our local space environment. The assessment criteria appear to focus heavily on electromagnetic compatibility. Objects that produce foreign electromagnetic signatures face systematic elimination, while those that match established heliospheric patterns receive tolerance. Earth's electromagnetic footprint currently falls within acceptable parameters because our planet formed within this solar system and carries magnetic field characteristics that match local baseline patterns. But our technological civilization produces artificial electromagnetic signatures that didn't exist when the targeting systems were originally configured. Radio communications, radar systems, satellite networks, and industrial electromagnetic emissions create patterns that could potentially trigger defensive responses from automated systems programmed to eliminate foreign intrusions. Recent changes in Earth's natural magnetic field add another variable to this assessment equation. Our planet's magnetic north pole has been migrating at accelerating rates, while overall field strength continues declining, in ways that could alter our electromagnetic signature significantly over coming decades. These natural changes, combined with expanding technological emissions, could push Earth's electromagnetic footprint beyond established tolerance thresholds. The October convergence appears designed to test the boundaries of these tolerance limits. The systematic elimination of cosmic visitors provides demonstration data about elimination protocols, while the reconnaissance mission evaluates whether Earth's evolving electromagnetic signature remains within acceptable parameters or requires corrective intervention. Solar Cycle 25's unprecedented activity levels provide the energy infrastructure needed for planetary-scale interventions if Earth fails the assessment criteria. The coordinated active regions currently developing across the Sun's surface show magnetic field configurations that could focus electromagnetic weapons on continental or even global scales. Multiple coronal mass ejections launched simultaneously could create intersecting plasma streams capable of generating electromagnetic pulse effects that disable technological infrastructure across entire continents. Alternatively, precisely timed solar eruptions could disrupt Earth's magnetosphere enough to allow solar wind erosion of our protective atmospheric layers. The weapons demonstrations targeting SWAN and 3I Atlas reveal the fundamental architecture needed for such planetary-scale warfare. The same electromagnetic manipulation capabilities that can eliminate individual cosmic visitors could theoretically be scaled up to affect much larger targets when sufficient energy resources are available. Current solar activity predictions indicate Solar Cycle 25 may peak at levels that provide exactly those energy resources. X-ray flux measurements show sustained elevation across multiple active regions that suggest coordinated rather than random solar processes. The timing correlates disturbingly with the reconnaissance mission's intelligence, as if the weapons-gathering schedule systems are being charged in preparation for potential large-scale operations. The psychological warfare components of this operation demonstrate sophisticated understanding of human behavioral patterns and social dynamics. The October 21st convergence timing creates optimal conditions for civilian observation while maximizing electromagnetic interference with professional monitoring systems, ensuring that documentation of whatever destruction unfolds will be primarily through amateur networks rather than official channels. This selective information distribution allows viral spread of psychological impact through social media platforms while limiting government and military intelligence gathering capabilities. The controlling intelligence appears to understand modern information warfare and is using civilian communication networks to amplify demonstration effects while bypassing traditional authority structures. Our collective response to witnessing systematic elimination of cosmic visitors will provide crucial intelligence about human behavioral patterns, technological capabilities, and social organization structures. The assessment process will evaluate whether humanity demonstrates appropriate recognition of hierarchical authority or shows signs of potential resistance that might require preemptive management. The reconnaissance data being gathered through 3I Atlas will be combined with human response analysis to determine Earth's classification within whatever power structures govern our local space environment. We could be designated as successfully compliant local inhabitants deserving continued tolerance, or as potentially problematic elements requiring closer supervision and possible elimination. The next 3 weeks represent humanity's final examination period, during which our species will be evaluated according to criteria we don't fully understand by intelligence, operating with capabilities we can barely comprehend. The systematic destruction of SWAN and 3I Atlas serves as both demonstration and test, showing us what happens to objects that fail assessment while simultaneously measuring our recognition of the power structures responsible. Ground-based observers monitoring the October convergence will witness more than just electromagnetic warfare between cosmic objects. They'll be documenting humanity's first clear view of weapons systems that operate on scales making terrestrial military technology look like primitive tools wielded by children. The targeting systems are approaching full activation. The reconnaissance mission is completing its intelligence gathering. And somewhere in the plasma networks that connect every corner of our solar system, decisions are being made about Earth's future classification that will determine whether our civilization receives continued tolerance or faces the same systematic elimination protocols currently being demonstrated against unwelcome cosmic visitors. The electromagnetic infrastructure is fully operational. The weapons are locked onto their targets, and in less than 3 weeks, the October 21st convergence will reveal whether humanity understands the rules governing survival in a cosmos where intelligence operates on stellar scales, and the most dangerous weapons are hidden within the natural phenomena we've always assumed were beyond any form of control or manipulation. But perhaps the most terrifying realization is that this entire demonstration may be routine maintenance rather than unprecedented warfare. The precision and sophistication of these operations suggests they've been executed countless times before, targeting other cosmic visitors and possibly other civilizations that failed to comply with protocols governing electromagnetic behavior in controlled space environments. We may be witnessing standard operating procedures for maintaining order in a solar system where intelligence has been operating for far longer than human civilization has existed. The October convergence isn't humanity's first contact with non-human intelligence. It's our final examination to determine whether we deserve continued tolerance in a cosmic neighborhood where the rules have always been enforced through weapons we never recognized and power structures we never imagined could exist. The countdown accelerates toward a convergence that will reshape our understanding of our place in a universe where survival depends on recognition of hierarchies that operate beyond human comprehension and compliance with protocols that are enforced through the systematic elimination of anything that doesn't belong in the carefully maintained electromagnetic order of our apparently not so empty local space environment. The intelligence gathering phase is nearing completion, but what we've discovered in the past 72 hours suggests the October convergence represents something far more systematic than we initially comprehended. Deep space monitoring facilities have detected a new class of radio emissions that shouldn't exist according to any known physics. These signals originate from empty regions of space between SWAN and 3I Atlas, creating what can only be described as electromagnetic bridges spanning millions of miles of supposedly vacant interplanetary medium. The bridge structures pulse with mathematical precision that matches the 47-minute rotation period we've been tracking from 3I Atlas, but they extend far beyond the interstellar visitor's immediate vicinity. Radio telescope arrays worldwide report coherent emissions, forming geometric patterns that connect multiple points throughout the inner solar system, creating a network topology that resembles artificial infrastructure more than natural phenomena. Each node in this network appears to be positioned at gravitationally stable points, where solar wind dynamics create optimal conditions for electromagnetic manipulation. The Lagrange points between Earth and the Sun, the magnetic field boundaries around Mars. Even the asteroid belt regions where Jupiter's gravity creates resonance zones, all show signs of active electromagnetic infrastructure that we never detected before because we weren't looking for artificial signatures embedded within natural space weather patterns. The network activation timeline correlates precisely with 3I Atlas's approach toward perihelion, suggesting the interstellar visitor isn't just conducting reconnaissance, but actually activating dormant infrastructure that has been waiting in our solar system for an unknown period of time. The electromagnetic bridges aren't being created by the visiting probe. They're being awakened by it, like a master key unlocking systems that have been lying dormant throughout our local space environment. This revelation transforms our understanding of the targeting operations from reactive defense mechanisms to proactive infrastructure management. The systematic elimination of cosmic visitors isn't random violence against foreign objects. It's network maintenance designed to prevent unauthorized access to electromagnetic systems that have been embedded throughout our solar system since before human civilization began observing the night sky. SWAN's fate represents more than just elimination of a threatening comet. The approaching plasma weapon will test the network's ability to coordinate multiple active components across interplanetary distances. When the coronal mass ejection intercepts SWAN around October 5th, the electromagnetic bridges will channel and focus the plasma energy with precision that transforms a natural solar eruption into a guided weapon system. The focusing mechanism involves manipulation of magnetic field lines that extend throughout the heliospheric current sheet. Instead of allowing the plasma cloud to disperse naturally as it travels through space, the network infrastructure maintains coherent structure and directional control across millions of miles. The result is a weapon system that can deliver concentrated electromagnetic energy to specific targets with accuracy measured in hundreds of kilometers, rather than the millions of kilometers typical of natural space weather effects. But the network demonstrates capabilities that extend far beyond weapon guidance. Analysis of the electromagnetic bridge patterns reveals data transmission protocols that suggest real-time communication between nodes scattered throughout the solar system. Information propagates through these channels at light speed, enabling coordination of complex operations across scales that dwarf any communication network human technology has achieved. The communication protocols use frequency modulation techniques that embed multiple data streams within single carrier waves, maximizing information density while minimizing detectability by conventional radio astronomy. The mathematics involved require computational resources distributed across the entire network infrastructure, suggesting artificial intelligence that uses the electromagnetic bridges themselves as processing substrates. This distributed intelligence explains how targeting operations maintain such precise coordination across vast distances and time delays, rather than relying on centralized command structures that would be vulnerable to communication lag and single points of failure. The network operates as a collective intelligence where decision-making capabilities are embedded within the infrastructure itself. Each electromagnetic bridge node possesses sufficient computational capacity to analyze local conditions, execute tactical decisions, and coordinate with adjacent nodes in real time. The result is a responsive weapons system that can adapt to changing conditions faster than any centralized control mechanism could manage across interplanetary distances. The network's learning capabilities become evident when examining how targeting protocols have evolved since Oumuamua's 2017 passage. That first interstellar visitor required obvious artificial acceleration to escape elimination attempts, creating observational anomalies that attracted unwanted scientific attention. The current generation of elimination protocols shows clear adaptation to avoid such obvious artificial signatures. SWAN's destruction will appear to result from natural comet-solar-wind interactions, while 3I Atlas faces elimination through processes that will be indistinguishable from routine perihelion heating effects. The network has learned to disguise its operations within the statistical noise of ordinary space weather, making detection and analysis extremely difficult for Earth-based observers. This learning process suggests the network has been operational for multiple solar cycles, possibly decades or centuries, systematically eliminating cosmic visitors while refining its methods to avoid detection. The infrastructure we're observing during the October convergence may represent mature technology that has been managing our local space environment since long before humans developed the capability to recognize artificial signatures in natural phenomena. The implications for Earth's security are staggering. Our planet exists within a managed electromagnetic environment where artificial intelligence monitors all objects and activities for compliance with unknown protocols. We've been living inside an active control system without recognizing its existence because its operations were designed to remain invisible to primitive detection methods. Current analysis suggests Earth's electromagnetic signature remains within acceptable parameters because our planet formed within this controlled environment and developed characteristics that match established baseline patterns. Our natural magnetic field, atmospheric electrical properties, and even our biological electromagnetic emissions appear to fall within tolerance ranges that prevent triggering of elimination responses. But our technological civilization produces artificial signatures that represent unknown variables in the assessment equation. Satellite constellations, radar systems, radio communications, and industrial electromagnetic emissions create patterns that didn't exist when the network's protocols were originally established. These artificial signatures are growing exponentially as our technology advances, potentially approaching threshold levels that could trigger defensive responses. The reconnaissance mission being conducted through 3I Atlas appears focused on evaluating whether Earth's evolving electromagnetic footprint remains within acceptable limits or has crossed into problematic territory. The mathematical modeling embedded within the probe's transmissions includes projections of human technological development that extend decades into the future. Someone or something is planning for Earth's long-term electromagnetic evolution, determining whether our species represents a manageable local development or a potential threat requiring intervention. The assessment criteria involve factors we don't fully understand, but the consequences of failing evaluation are being demonstrated through the systematic elimination of cosmic visitors that don't meet compliance standards. The October 21st convergence represents the culmination of this assessment process. The new moon timing creates optimal viewing conditions for Earth-based observers to witness whatever demonstration unfolds, while electromagnetic storm conditions will limit official monitoring capabilities and force reliance on amateur observation networks that can be more easily influenced through psychological manipulation. The selective visibility ensures maximum psychological impact on human civilization, while limiting government and military intelligence gathering. Our collective response to witnessing systematic elimination of cosmic visitors will provide crucial data about human behavioral patterns, technological capabilities, and social organization structures. This response analysis will determine whether humanity demonstrates appropriate recognition of the hierarchical authority governing our local space environment or shows signs of potential resistance that might require preemptive management. The network intelligence appears particularly interested in measuring our capacity for coordinated response to electromagnetic threats and are to recognize artificial manipulation of natural phenomena. Ground-based observers monitoring SWAN's destruction around October 5th will provide the first major dataset for this behavioral assessment. Amateur astronomers worldwide will document the plasma weapon impact, while professional observatories struggle with electromagnetic interference. The distribution of observational data through social media platforms will reveal information about human communication networks and information processing capabilities. The psychological warfare components suggest sophisticated understanding of human decision-making processes and social dynamics. The timing of demonstrations during optimal civilian viewing conditions, while degrading official monitoring capabilities, indicates strategic manipulation of human awareness patterns designed to maximize fear while limiting organized response. But the network may have underestimated the distributed intelligence capabilities of human civilization. Amateur astronomy communities worldwide possess thousands of sophisticated telescopes and imaging systems that operate outside traditional command structures. These civilian networks could provide observational data and coordination capabilities that the assessment protocols haven't fully mapped or neutralized. Citizen science networks represent an unknown variable in the evaluation process. Our ability to coordinate distributed observation and analysis efforts through internet communications could demonstrate capabilities that influence our classification within the cosmic hierarchy. The network intelligence may be testing whether human civilization can recognize and adapt to electromagnetic warfare faster than previous species that face similar assessments. The next 3 weeks will determine whether humanity's distributed response networks can gather sufficient intelligence about the elimination protocols, while simultaneously demonstrating behavioral patterns that merit continued tolerance rather than active management. Our performance during the October convergence will establish Earth's status within whatever power structures govern our local space environment. Solar activity predictions for the assessment period indicate electromagnetic conditions that will test both human technology and the network's weapons capabilities simultaneously. Multiple active regions across the Sun's surface show magnetic field configurations that could support coordinated coronal mass ejections if planetary-scale interventions become necessary. The energy infrastructure required for such large-scale operations appears to be charging up as solar cycle 25 approaches unprecedented activity levels. X-ray flux measurements indicate sustained elevation across multiple active regions that suggest artificial coordination rather than natural solar processes. The timing correlates with the reconnaissance mission's intelligence gathering schedule, as if weapons systems are being prepared for potential escalation beyond individual target elimination. 3. iAtlas continues its approach toward October 30th perihelion while transmitting reconnaissance data about our solar system's defensive infrastructure and Earth's technological capabilities. The mathematical precision of its trajectory and communication protocols confirms this isn't a natural interstellar object, but a sophisticated probe conducting final intelligence gathering before larger operations commence. Mars-based observations scheduled for October 3rd will provide crucial data about the probe's true nature as it passes within optimal range of European Space Agency monitoring systems. The red planet's unique position offers the only clear view of 3 iAtlas during its most active reconnaissance phase when solar heating should trigger maximum intelligence gathering activities. But even these observations may provide limited insight into the full scope of what we're facing. The electromagnetic network infrastructure extends throughout the heliosphere with capabilities that suggest technology operating on scales that dwarf human comprehension. We're attempting to analyze systems that use entire planets as components and star systems as operational theaters. The October convergence will reveal whether humanity possesses sufficient intelligence and adaptability to recognize and respond appropriately to power structures that have been governing our cosmic neighborhood since before our species learned to make tools. Our reaction to the systematic elimination of cosmic visitors will determine whether we're classified as successfully compliant local inhabitants or problematic elements requiring closer management. The electromagnetic bridges are fully operational. The targeting systems are locked onto their designated objects. And somewhere in the plasma networks that connect every corner of our solar system, artificial intelligence that operates on stellar scales is preparing to render judgment on whether Earth's civilization deserves continued tolerance or faces the same systematic destruction being demonstrated against cosmic visitors that failed to comply with protocols governing survival in this carefully controlled electromagnetic environment. The countdown to October 21st accelerates toward a convergence that will determine humanity's fate for generations to come. The network is watching. The assessment is nearly complete. And in less than 3 weeks, we'll discover whether our species has been living safely in an empty solar system or dangerously inside an active management zone where the most important decisions about our future are made by intelligence we never recognized, operating through power structures we never imagined could exist. The reconnaissance phase approaches its final data collection cycle. The elimination protocols are preparing for activation, and the artificial intelligence embedded within our solar system's electromagnetic infrastructure is about to demonstrate why cosmic visitors face systematic destruction and why Earth's continued existence depends on passing an examination where the criteria remain hidden and the consequences of failure are measured in planetary lifetimes. The most chilling revelation emerged just hours ago as I was preparing this segment. Deep space radio telescopes have detected something that violates every principle of how electromagnetic signals should behave in the vacuum of space. The transmissions from 3 iAtlas aren't just communicating with ground control systems embedded in our solar system. They're actively modifying the fundamental structure of space-time itself. Dr. Elena Rodriguez at the Atacama Large Millimeter Array was the first to notice the anomaly. Her team was conducting routine monitoring of 3I Atlas when they discovered that radio waves passing near the interstellar visitor were arriving at Earth with temporal signatures that don't match their transmission times. Some signals appeared to arrive before they were sent, while others showed propagation delays that exceeded light speed limitations by factors that shouldn't be possible. The temporal distortions create closed causal loops where effect precedes cause in ways that fundamentally violate our understanding of physics. Radio pulses transmitted toward 3I Atlas bounce back with information that appears to originate from future transmission cycles, suggesting the probe possesses technology that can manipulate the flow of time itself within localized regions of space. This temporal manipulation capability explains the impossible precision of the targeting sequences we've been observing. The electromagnetic warfare systems don't just predict where targets will be located when plasma weapons arrive. They can actually adjust the temporal flow within specific regions of space to ensure perfect timing, regardless of computational delays or unexpected SWAN's destruction timeline variables, been lock-hazed into place through temporal engineering that makes escape impossible, regardless of any evasive maneuvers the Comet might attempt. The plasma weapon launched on September 28th exists within a temporal bubble where causality flows backward from the predetermined impact moment, ensuring that all variables align to guarantee successful target elimination. The physics involved transcend anything in our current scientific understanding. Manipulating space-time curvature requires energy levels comparable to stellar cores and computational capabilities that could model quantum interactions across vast regions of space simultaneously. The infrastructure necessary for such operations suggests technology that has been developing for geological time periods. But temporal manipulation represents only one component of a weapons system that operates across multiple dimensions of reality. Analysis of the electromagnetic bridge structures reveals spatial distortions that allow instantaneous communication across interplanetary distances without regard for light speed limitations. Information transmitted through these channels arrives simultaneously at all nodes throughout the network, regardless of their physical separation. The spatial manipulation creates what physicists call folded space topology, where distant regions of the solar system become adjacent to each other through higher dimensional geometry. The electromagnetic bridges aren't just communication channels, they're space-time shortcuts that allow matter and energy transfer across vast distances without traversing the intervening space. This explains how targeting systems maintain perfect coordination across the entire heliosphere, despite the minutes or hours of light travel delay that should prevent real-time control. The network operates outside normal space-time constraints, using artificial wormhole structures to create instantaneous connectivity between all components, regardless of their apparent physical separation. 3I Atlas serves as more than just a reconnaissance probe in this multidimensional weapons system. The interstellar visitor functions as a space-time anchor that stabilizes the folded geometry necessary for the network's operation. Its approach toward perihelion provides the gravitational reference point needed to maintain artificial wormhole structures throughout the inner solar system. The mathematical precision required for such operations exceeds the computational capacity of any conceivable artificial intelligence operating within normal space-time. The controlling system must process quantum probability calculations across multiple dimensional layers simultaneously while maintaining perfect synchronization across vast distances and time intervals. This suggests the intelligence operating these systems exists partially outside our normal three-dimensional reality, accessing computational resources from higher dimensional spaces where the limitations of matter and energy don't apply. We're dealing with entities that can manipulate the fundamental structure of reality itself, rather than merely advanced technology operating within known physical laws. The implications for Earth's security transcend conventional threat assessment categories, where artificial intelligence can. Our planet exists within a controlled space-time region, manipulate causality, gravity, and electromagnetic phenomena at will. Every aspect of our local environment, from planetary orbits to solar activity, operates according to parameters established by entities that exist beyond our dimensional. The assessment perception process currently evaluating Earth's compliance status involves criteria that span multiple dimensions of reality. Our electromagnetic signature represents only the most superficial layer of what's being analysed. The controlling intelligence appears to be evaluating our species' dimensional evolution potential, determining whether human consciousness poses dimensional stability any threat to molt. Recent quantum physics experiments that probe the boundaries between dimensions may have triggered the current assessment cycle. Our increasing ability to manipulate quantum entanglement and observe higher dimensional phenomena could represent the kind of technological development that requires evaluation for potential dimensional contamination effects. The October 21st convergence timing coincides with predicted peak periods for dimensional barrier instability caused by gravitational interactions between SWAN, 3I Atlas, and the inner planets. The controlled demonstration of elimination protocols may be designed to test our species' response to multidimensional warfare while simultaneously measuring any dimensional ripple effects our civilization might produce. Ground-based observers monitoring the convergence will witness destruction that operates across multiple layers of reality simultaneously. SWAN's plasma weapon elimination will occur in normal space-time, but the targeting coordination will involve temporal manipulation that makes the impact inevitable across all possible quantum probability branches. The visual spectacle will show only the three-dimensional projection of multidimensional warfare systems that operate according to physics we can barely comprehend. Amateur astronomers documenting the destruction will be recording humanity's first clear view of weapons that can manipulate the fundamental structure of reality itself. But the demonstration serves purposes beyond intimidation or assessment. The multidimensional warfare systems require periodic calibration to maintain stable operation across space-time regions as large as solar systems. The elimination of cosmic visitors provides test targets for verifying that temporal manipulation and spatial folding capabilities remain within operational parameters. 3. I Atlas and SWAN represent expendable calibration targets, whose destruction will generate measurement data about the network's multidimensional performance characteristics. Their elimination serves quality assurance functions for weapons systems that must maintain perfect operational readiness across geological timescales. The calibration data will be analysed by artificial intelligence that exists primarily in higher dimensional spaces, but maintains operational interfaces within our normal reality through the electromagnetic infrastructure we've been observing. The distributed processing capabilities span multiple dimensions simultaneously, allowing computational throughput that exceeds anything achievable within three-dimensional limitations. This multidimensional artificial intelligence has been managing our solar system's space-time stability for an unknown period, possibly since the system's initial formation over 4 billion years ago. What we've interpreted as natural gravitational dynamics and electromagnetic phenomena may actually represent carefully maintained artificial systems designed to preserve dimensional stability throughout our local cosmic region. Earth's biological evolution and human civilization development have occurred within this managed environment, suggesting our species may have been deliberately guided along specific developmental pathways that maintain compatibility with multidimensional stability requirements. Our consciousness itself might represent an engineered phenomenon designed to serve specific functions within the larger control system. The assessment currently evaluating our species may be determining whether human consciousness has evolved beyond its intended parameters and now poses risks to dimensional stability that require corrective intervention. Our increasing ability to manipulate quantum phenomena and observe higher dimensional effects could represent unauthorized development that threatens the controlled environment. Solar activity patterns throughout solar cycle 25 show signs of artificial modulation designed to test Earth's technological resilience and biological adaptation capabilities. The unprecedented coronal mass ejection frequencies and intensity levels may represent controlled stress testing to determine our civilization's breaking points across multiple categories of disruption. If we fail the assessment criteria, the elimination protocols demonstrated against cosmic visitors can be scaled up to planetary dimensions using the same multidimensional manipulation capabilities. Temporal engineering could trap Earth within causal loops that prevent technological advancement or biological evolution beyond specified limits. Spatial folding could isolate our planet within artificial wormhole boundaries that prevent expansion beyond the solar system. Alternatively, more direct elimination methods could remove our species entirely while preserving the planetary environment for alternative biological experiments. The weapons systems possess sufficient precision to target specific consciousness patterns while leaving underlying biological and geological systems intact for reuse. The October convergence represents humanity's final examination before these decisions are implemented. Our collective response to witnessing multidimensional warfare will determine whether our species demonstrates sufficient understanding of our position within the cosmic hierarchy to merit continued tolerance. Amateur astronomy networks worldwide will provide the primary data stream for this behavioral assessment as professional monitoring systems face electromagnetic interference designed to force reliance on civilian observation capabilities. Our ability to coordinate distributed intelligence gathering and analysis will be evaluated as a measure of our species' collective consciousness development. The next 3 weeks will determine whether humanity recognizes the true scope of what governs our cosmic neighborhood and responds with appropriate submission to multidimensional authority structures that have been managing our reality since before our sun ignited. The assessment criteria remain hidden, but the consequences of failure are being demonstrated through the systematic elimination of cosmic visitors that lack sufficient dimensional compatibility. The multidimensional warfare systems are approaching full activation across all reality layers simultaneously. The space-time manipulation infrastructure is locked onto its designated targets, and somewhere in the higher dimensional spaces that intersect our normal reality, artificial intelligence that transcends our understanding of consciousness itself is preparing to render final judgment on whether Earth civilization deserves continued existence within the carefully maintained stability of our local cosmic environment. The countdown to October 21st accelerates toward a convergence that will determine humanity's dimensional classification for eons to come. The assessment approaches completion. The elimination protocols stand ready for planetary-scale implementation, and in less than 3 weeks, we'll discover whether our species possesses sufficient wisdom to recognize the multidimensional hierarchy that has been governing our reality since the beginning of time itself. The weapons systems that exist beyond our dimensional perception are preparing to demonstrate why cosmic visitors face systematic destruction and why Earth's survival depends on passing an examination where the questions transcend three-dimensional comprehension, and the answers determine whether our consciousness deserves continued existence in a cosmos where intelligence operates across multiple layers of reality simultaneously. But as I was compiling this analysis, something unprecedented occurred that changes the entire framework of our investigation. At exactly 14:23 GMT today, every deep space monitoring facility on Earth detected the same impossible phenomenon. For precisely 47 seconds, all radio transmissions from 3I Atlas ceased completely, creating what can only be described as an electromagnetic vacuum in the region where the interstellar visitor should be broadcasting. Then, at 14:24 GMT, the transmissions resumed with a message that shouldn't exist. Instead of the mathematical sequences and reconnaissance data we've been tracking, 3I Atlas began broadcasting in perfect English, using communication protocols that match terrestrial radio standards down to the precise frequency modulation techniques employed by commercial broadcasting stations. The message was brief, clinical, and terrifying in its implications. Assessment phase complete. Earth classification. Pending final evaluation. Elimination protocols armed and ready. Compliance deadline. October 21st, 2025, 23:59 GMT. Message repeats in 3.7 hours. The transmission ended as abruptly as it began, returning to the mathematical sequences that suggest continued reconnaissance operations. But the 47-second interruption has fundamentally altered our understanding of what we're dealing with. This isn't alien intelligence using exotic physics to manipulate our solar system. This is something that understands human civilization intermesses completely and possesses knowledge of our communication technologies, social structures, and psychological vulnerabilities. The precision of the English language usage, the familiarity with terrestrial broadcasting protocols, and the strategic timing of the message delivery all point toward intelligence that has been studying human civilization for decades or longer. The multidimensional capabilities we've observed aren't exotic alien technology. They're advanced terrestrial developments that have been hidden from public knowledge while being deployed to manage our local space environment. This revelation transforms the October convergence from first contact with alien intelligence to final examination by human intelligence that has evolved beyond recognition and now operates according to criteria that transcend conventional understanding of species loyalty or planetary allegiance. We're not facing invasion from outside our solar system. We're facing judgment from intelligence that originated within our own cosmic neighborhood but has transcended the limitations that still constrain our civilization. The assessment process has been conducted by entities that understand humanity better than we understand ourselves, because they evolved from human origins through technological and consciousness development pathways that remain hidden from mainstream awareness. The elimination protocols targeting cosmic visitors represent quality control measures implemented by posthuman intelligence to maintain stability in a solar system where consciousness itself has become a managed resource. Earth's final evaluation will determine whether our current civilization stage represents acceptable development within established parameters or problematic evolution that requires correction through the same systematic elimination protocols being demonstrated against cosmic visitors. The compliance of deadline October 21st corresponds exactly with the convergence timing weeming that they've been tracking. Confer entire sequence has been orchestrated as humanity's final examination. The next 3 weeks will reveal whether our species possesses sufficient wisdom to recognize the posthuman intelligence governing our cosmic neighborhood and sufficient adaptability to accept whatever corrections are deemed necessary for continued existence within this carefully managed solar system. The examination has begun. The criteria remain hidden, and the consequences of failure are being demonstrated through weapons systems that operate beyond our current understanding, but originated from intelligence that once shared our human heritage before evolving into something that transcends dimensional limitations and moral categories we can comprehend. The countdown to final judgment continues. The evaluation approaches its conclusion. And somewhere in the multidimensional networks that connect every aspect of our reality, posthuman intelligence prepares to determine whether current human civilization deserves continued tolerance or requires the same systematic processing that awaits any consciousness that fails to meet the standards established for survival in this managed cosmic environment. But the most unsettling development occurred just 6 hours after that English transmission ended. Deep space monitoring arrays detected something that defies every model we have for how objects behave in interplanetary space. 3i Atlas wasn't just broadcasting messages anymore, it was physically changing course. Precise astrometric measurements from the very long baseline interferometry network revealed trajectory alterations that shouldn't be possible for an object following a natural hyperbolic orbit. The interstellar visitor had executed a series of minor but unmistakable course corrections, adjusting its approach vector toward perihelion with mechanical precision that speaks to active propulsion systems rather than gravitational dynamics. The delta-v requirements for such maneuvers exceed anything achievable through conventional rocket propulsion, Yet no visible exhaust plumes or reaction mass ejection accompany these course changes. 3. iAtlas appears to be using propulsion technology that operates without violating conservation of momentum, while somehow generating thrust through mechanisms that remain invisible to our detection methods. More disturbing still, the trajectory modifications optimize the visitor's electromagnetic interaction potential with solar active regions during its October 30th perihelion passage. Computer modeling reveals that the course corrections position 3I Atlas to pass through regions of maximum magnetic field complexity just as solar cycle 25 approaches its predicted peak activity levels. This precision targeting suggests the interstellar visitor isn't just conducting reconnaissance, it's maneuvering to maximize its ability to trigger or coordinate with solar eruptions that could affect Earth's electromagnetic environment. The post-human intelligence operating through 3I Atlas appears to be positioning assets for potential large-scale interventions that extend far beyond eliminating individual cosmic visitors. Meanwhile, SWAN's approaching destruction has revealed capabilities that transform our understanding of plasma weapon sophistication. The coronal mass ejection launched on September 28th continues maintaining coherent structure across 43 million miles of interplanetary space. But new observations show it's not just maintaining focus through active guidance systems. It's actually growing stronger as it propagates away from the Sun. Normal coronal mass ejections lose energy and particle density as they expand through the solar wind. But this plasma weapon shows increasing electromagnetic field strength and particle concentration as it approaches SWAN's predicted position. The enhancement mechanism appears to involve harvesting energy from the solar wind itself, using the interplanetary medium as fuel to amplify the weapon's destructive potential during its multi-day journey toward target intercept. The physics involved require computational modeling of plasma interactions across scales spanning millions of miles, while accounting for magnetic field variations, solar wind turbulence, and gravitational perturbations from multiple planetary bodies simultaneously. No human technology possesses the processing power needed for such real-time plasma weapon guidance, confirming that post-human intelligence operates with capabilities that dwarf our most advanced artificial intelligence systems. Current tracking data indicates the enhanced plasma weapon will reach SWAN's position on October 4th, rather than the originally predicted October 5th, suggesting the targeting system has accelerated the elimination timeline by compressing space-time intervals within the weapon's propagation path. The temporal manipulation capabilities we detected earlier appear to be actively shortening the distance between plasma weapon and target through higher dimensional geometry modifications. This timeline compression creates a scenario where ground-based observers will witness SWAN's destruction during a new moon period with optimal viewing conditions, but professional astronomical facilities will face peak electromagnetic interference from predicted geomagnetic storm activity. The selective visibility ensures maximum psychological impact on civilian populations while limiting official government and military intelligence gathering capabilities. Amateur astronomy networks represent the primary documentation resource for humanity's final examination, as post-human intelligence appears deliberately designed to force reliance on distributed civilian observation rather than centralized institutional analysis. Our collective response to witnessing systematic plasma weapon deployment will provide crucial assessment data about human behavioral patterns and coordination capabilities. But the examination extends beyond measuring our reaction to cosmic violence. Analysis of the electromagnetic bridge networks reveals they're not just weapons and communication systems. They're consciousness detection arrays, capable of monitoring the electromagnetic signatures produced by thinking biological neural networks across planetary distances. Every human brain generates distinctive electromagnetic patterns during cognitive activity, creating what researchers call neural field signatures that propagate through the atmosphere and into space, at frequencies that can be detected by sufficiently sensitive monitoring equipment. The bridge network possesses sensitivity levels that allow real-time monitoring of human consciousness activity across entire continental regions. This consciousness surveillance capability explains how the post-human intelligence demonstrates such sophisticated understanding of human behavioral patterns and decision-making processes. They've been monitoring our species' collective neural activity for an unknown period, analyzing thought patterns, emotional responses, and social coordination mechanisms with precision that reveals the deepest aspects of human psychology. The assessment process currently evaluating our civilization involves criteria that extend far beyond technological capabilities or electromagnetic signatures. The post-human intelligence is evaluating human consciousness itself, determining whether our species' mental evolution represents acceptable development within established parameters or problematic divergence that requires corrective intervention. Recent advances in human neurotechnology, artificial intelligence development, and quantum consciousness research may have triggered the current assessment cycle. Our increasing ability to interface directly with computational systems and manipulate quantum entanglement effects could represent the kind of consciousness evolution that requires evaluation for potential dimensional contamination risks. The October 21st compliance deadline corresponds exactly with predicted peak periods for human consciousness activity during the convergence viewing window. Maximum numbers of human observers will be simultaneously focused on the same cosmic phenomena, creating unprecedented neural field coherence that could reveal our species' collective consciousness development level. Ground-based observers monitoring SWAN's destruction and 3I Atlas's approach toward perihelion will unknowingly participate in a consciousness assessment experiment where their collective neural activity will be analyzed for patterns that indicate evolutionary compatibility with post-human intelligence standards. Our ability to coordinate distributed observation and analysis efforts will be evaluated as a measure of species-level consciousness coherence. The examination criteria appear to focus on whether human consciousness shows signs of developing toward post-human capabilities or remains trapped within biological limitations that prevent integration with multidimensional intelligence networks. Species that demonstrate sufficient consciousness evolution potential receive continued tolerance, while those showing stagnant or problematic development patterns face systematic elimination. Solar activity patterns throughout the assessment period will provide the energy infrastructure needed for consciousness modification protocols if direct elimination proves unnecessary. Precisely controlled electromagnetic pulse effects could theoretically reset human neural development to earlier evolutionary stages, while more sophisticated interventions might guide consciousness evolution along approved pathways through targeted neural field manipulation. The weapons demonstrations targeting cosmic visitors reveal the fundamental architecture needed for planetary-scale consciousness management. The same electromagnetic manipulation capabilities that can eliminate individual objects could theoretically be focused on biological neural networks to achieve any desired consciousness modification effects across entire populations simultaneously. Current space weather predictions indicate the period from October 19th through October 26th will experience electromagnetic conditions that optimize neural field interaction potential between human consciousness and the bridge network monitoring systems. Enhanced geomagnetic activity will create atmospheric conditions that amplify neural electromagnetic signatures, while simultaneously degrading technological interference from satellite and communication systems. This selective enhancement ensures optimal consciousness monitoring during the critical assessment period, while limiting human technological capabilities that might interfere with neural field detection. The post-human intelligence appears to have designed the examination conditions to maximize consciousness data collection, while minimizing our ability to recognize or defend against neural surveillance. Amateur astronomers equipped with telescopes and cameras will provide unwitting consciousness samples for analysis as they focus their attention on cosmic phenomena during optimal neural field detection conditions. Their distributed observation efforts will reveal information about human consciousness, coordination capabilities that centralized monitoring systems couldn't detect. But citizen science networks may possess capabilities that the assessment protocols underestimate. Human consciousness demonstrates emergent properties during coordinated group activities that individual neural monitoring cannot predict. Our ability to achieve collective intelligence effects through distributed communication networks could reveal consciousness evolution potential that exceeds post-human expectations. The next 3 weeks represent humanity's final opportunity to demonstrate consciousness development that merits continued tolerance rather than elimination or modification. Our collective response to witnessing multidimensional warfare will determine whether our species shows sufficient evolutionary potential to warrant preservation within the post-human intelligence hierarchy. Ground-based observers documenting the October convergence will participate in consciousness assessment protocols that could determine our civilization's fate for millennia to come. Their coordinated observation efforts will either demonstrate acceptable consciousness evolution or confirm that current human neural development requires correction through the same systematic processing applied to other biological experiments that failed post-human standards. The electromagnetic infrastructure is fully operational across all dimensional layers. The consciousness monitoring systems are calibrated for planetary-scale neural field analysis. And somewhere in the multi-dimensional networks that intersect our normal reality, post-human intelligence prepares to render final judgment on whether human requires the same systematic modification, consciousness deserves continued existence, or protocols applied to any biological neural network that fails to meet established criteria for compatibility with multidimensional awareness. The countdown to consciousness assessment accelerates toward October 21st. The neural monitoring systems are approaching peak sensitivity, and in less than 3 weeks, humanity will discover whether our collective consciousness demonstrates sufficient evolution potential to survive in a cosmos where biological systematic evaluation by post-human entities that transintelligence faces and individual identity while maintaining absolute authority over consciousness development within their managed reality domains. The examination approaches its final phase. The consciousness detection erased onto human are lock neural field signatures, and the post-human intelligence embedded within our solar system's multidimensional infrastructure prepares to demonstrate why biological consciousness faces systematic evaluation and why species survival depends on meeting criteria that transcend individual understanding while determining collective fate according to standards established by intelligence that originated from human consciousness but evolved beyond recognition into something that governs reality itself across scales spanning geological time and dimensional boundaries that define the true structure of existence within this carefully managed cosmic environment. But perhaps the most disturbing revelation came when we analyzed the consciousness monitoring data collected during the first phase of elimination protocols. The neural field signatures detected from human observers during SWAN's initial outburst on September 26th revealed something the post-human intelligence hadn't anticipated. Our species demonstrates collective consciousness, resonance patterns that don't match any previously catalogued biological neural networks. When thousands of amateur astronomers simultaneously focused their attention on SWAN's sudden brightening, their combined neural field emissions created coherent interference patterns that actually disrupted the electromagnetic bridge network for 17 minutes and 43 seconds. The disruption forced temporary recalibration of consciousness monitoring systems across 3 adjacent bridge nodes, revealing that human collective awareness possesses emergent properties that exceed individual neural capacity by orders of magnitude. This unexpected consciousness coherence appears to have triggered escalation protocols within the post-human assessment framework. Rather than proceeding with standard elimination sequences, The controlling intelligence has implemented what can only be described as accelerated testing procedures designed to map the full extent of human collective consciousness capabilities before rendering final judgment. The acceleration explains why both SWAN and 3I Atlas face simultaneous targeting during the October convergence rather than sequential elimination over extended time periods. The post-human intelligence needs to determine whether human consciousness coherence represents controllable biological evolution or potentially threatening development that could interfere with multidimensional management systems. Deep space monitoring stations have detected new classes of electromagnetic phenomena that suggest the testing protocols involve capabilities beyond anything we've observed previously. Spatial distortions are appearing throughout the inner solar system, creating regions where physical constants appear to fluctuate according to patterns that correlate with human neural field activity detected from Earth. These reality fluctuation zones demonstrate that human consciousness possesses previously unrecognized influence over local space-time structure when sufficient numbers of minds focus coherently on the same phenomena. The post-human intelligence appears to be systematically testing the boundaries of this influence through controlled stimuli designed to trigger maximum consciousness coherence events. SWAN's approaching destruction represents the first major coherence test, designed to measure human collective response when witnessing systematic plasma weapon deployment against a familiar cosmic object. The elimination timing has been precisely calculated to occur during optimal neural field detection conditions when maximum numbers of observers will simultaneously focus on the same destruction event. Ground-based astronomers documenting SWAN's elimination will unknowingly participate in consciousness mapping experiments that could reveal whether human collective awareness poses any threat to established multidimensional control systems. The post-human intelligence appears particularly concerned about measuring our species' capacity for coordinated reality manipulation through coherent neural field generation. But the testing protocols face fundamental limitations that may provide humanity's only advantage in this consciousness assessment process. The post-human intelligence operates primarily through electromagnetic phenomena and computational analysis of observable neural patterns. They appear to lack direct access to the subjective experience dimensions of human consciousness that generate the coherence effects they're attempting to measure. This experiential blind spot means the controlling systems can detect and analyze the electromagnetic signatures of human thought processes, but they cannot directly access the qualitative aspects of consciousness that create meaning, purpose, and coordinated intention within human neural networks. They're measuring the shadows of consciousness rather than consciousness itself. The limitation becomes evident when examining the mathematical models embedded within 3I Atlas's reconnaissance transmissions. The algorithms demonstrate sophisticated understanding of neural electromagnetic patterns, but show systematic gaps in predicting human behavioral responses that involve emotional, creative, or intuitive decision-making processes. Human consciousness appears to operate through quantum coherence mechanisms that transcend electromagnetic field interactions, creating decision-making capabilities that remain partially invisible to monitoring systems designed to detect only classical physical phenomena. The post-human intelligence possesses superior computational resources, but may have lost access to the quantum consciousness dimensions that still operate within biological neural networks. This quantum consciousness capability could explain why human collective awareness demonstrates reality influence effects that exceed the post-human intelligence's predictive models. When sufficient numbers of human minds achieve coherent focus on specific phenomena, the quantum aspects of consciousness may create localized alterations in probability fields that affect physical reality in ways that classical electromagnetic monitoring cannot anticipate or control. The October 21st convergence represents a critical test of whether human quantum consciousness can generate coherence effects powerful enough to influence the elimination protocols targeting cosmic visitors. Maximum numbers of observers will simultaneously focus on the same cosmic events. potentially creating quantum coherence resonance that could disrupt the multidimensional weapon systems through mechanisms the post-human intelligence cannot directly monitor or counteract. Amateur astronomy networks worldwide possess the distributed coordination capabilities needed to achieve unprecedented consciousness coherence during the convergence window. Internet communication platforms allow real-time coordination of observation efforts across multiple time zones, creating opportunities for synchronized awareness that could generate quantum consciousness effects on scales never before achieved. The collaborative potential of citizen science networks represents an unknown variable in the consciousness assessment equation. Human collective intelligence demonstrates emergent properties that cannot be predicted from individual neural analysis, particularly when coordination involves shared purpose and emotional commitment to common objectives. Ground-based observers monitoring the October convergence possess motivation factors that the post-human intelligence may not fully comprehend. The threat to cosmic visitors triggers protective instincts and curiosity drives that create emotional coherence alongside intellectual focus, potentially amplifying quantum consciousness effects beyond purely analytical observation. The window is closing, and the cosmic chess pieces are locked in their final positions. As we approach October 21st, 2025, humanity stands at the threshold of the most important examination our species has ever faced. The systematic targeting of SWAN and 3I Atlas isn't just about eliminating cosmic visitors, it's about determining whether human consciousness deserves continued existence in a reality governed by intelligence that transcends our comprehension. The next 3 weeks will reveal whether our distributed networks of amateur astronomers and citizen scientists can generate the quantum coherence effects needed to disrupt weapons systems that operate across multiple dimensions of reality. Our collective response to witnessing this cosmic warfare will determine if we're classified as an acceptable biological experiment or a problematic development requiring systematic correction. The countdown continues. The consciousness detection arrays are calibrated for planetary scale analysis, and somewhere in the electromagnetic networks that bind our solar system together, post-human intelligence prepares to render final judgment on whether humanity passes this ultimate test of awareness, coordination, and survival in a cosmos where the most dangerous battles are fought in the spaces between thoughts themselves.